So, how many of you are here affiliated with real estate and blockchain? Raise your hand. And how many of you are aware that blockchain is here to stay? Raise your hand. Okay, so my name is Julio Valevado. I'm the CEO of Screaming Goats Innovation. It's a company in the Netherlands. We are offering blockchain and AI solutions. And today I'm here to make you guys aware that there are a lot of problems in the real estate market that can be better and be solved by blockchain and AI solutions. And the topic is that is it really a disruptive model? I find disrupting a little bit negative. So I'm more into reshaping or redefining the system. So I'm not going to talk about a lot of technical jargon. I'm not going to talk about all the topics because 10 minutes is just too short to do that. How many of you agree? So how many of you guys like gifts? All right, if you stay till the end, I will give you guys a gift. And the thing is, because I am very amazed about the hospitality of Pakistan, then that's why I want to give you guys a gift with my team who has welcomed me and is making my stay much comfortable. All right, so I'm going to make one thing aware about the problems we have in Europe, for example. And one thing that is Europe or the Netherlands has a shortage of 900,000, let's say, houses that have to be built. And it has to be built by 2030. And 2030 is just around the corner. And we all know that it is not going to happen. And another problem is that because of big companies like, for example, how many of you know BlackRock? Yeah, a lot of people know BlackRock. So BlackRock acquired a lot of houses in the Netherlands. I think more than 300,000 houses. And yeah, guys, that's a problem because that's not going to make one problem. It's not going to solve the problem of cheap houses in the Netherlands. And the thing is that with the blockchain technology, we can create little black rocks for each other. So little black rocks that it is much more accessible for the middleman or the guys with a lower income to participate in the property and real estate market. How many of you agree that we all, or the most people, have a mobile phone? Yes. We all have a mobile phone, so wouldn't it be easy to participate in the real estate markets with your mobile phone? How would that be? So guys, it is possible. With blockchain, everything is possible. So why have people come to me and ask me, Julio, why can't we invest like BlackRock in real estate? Because it is not accessible for most of the people. I said that because of the process, we cannot do it because of notaries, intermediaries, transaction costs. And blockchain has a solution for all of that. And I said I have to test it first. I have to make a test case. And the test case is participation into the blockchain technology. And I want to let the developers demonstrate it for me so that it works. We call that proof of work. So we started with one little proof of work mechanism, and that is fractionizing a real estate project. So when I saw that, I saw, okay, people can register. People can deploy a project or a home or a land in the platform, and we can fractionize it in little pieces or NFTs. And people can acquire that to different kinds of blockchains. You can use different kinds of blockchains because they offer also different kinds of technical solutions. So, for example, you have proof of reserve, proof of work, proof of consensus, proof of stake. And all of that is not important now, because at the end, when I'm going to give you the gift, it will explain all of that in simple terms for you guys. One thing is for sure. I heard one of the speakers talking about education has to be made simplified. And I agree with that 100%. Because that is one of the problems I saw in all of the, let's say, developments and all the process and all the time that people were starting to use a platform or an app. They were very complicated, overwhelmed, how to use it. And because they were not educated in a simple manner. And I'm someone who is interested in simplifying things. I call it keep it super simple. When you keep something super simple for people and you make them do it, then people will understand. By taking action and participation, people will understand technology. When you are going too much into technical stuff, you will lose people there. Because people say, oh, what is that term? I don't know that term. Oh, it looks too complicated. But when you demonstrate it for someone and you inform people, they will tend to understand. And that's what I have experienced with a lot of people. I've been educating people also to different kind of platforms, academies, to make it much more simpler and demonstrate it bit by bit, step by step, to make them understand how it works. And it will be like a simple step like how to create a MetaMask wallet or how to register on board on a platform, how to do the KYC or the AML procedure. Because I think that we can solve a lot of problems with decentralized autonomous organizations, with smart contracts, everything. And in this time, I don't think that we have to go fully decentralized or autonomous. You have to find a hybrid way because we are in an adoption phase. And when you are in an adoption phase, people first must adopt the technology. They must be familiar with the technology. And they must be open to adopt the technology. And how many of you guys are open for change? Yeah, I see a lot. I've been now since Tuesday in Pakistan, and I've been looking around. I see a lot of real estate. Beautiful buildings, beautiful houses. And I love it. I love real estate. And I've been traveling around the world, also with the eye of how is real estate going in every kind of country. And I think that in this time, we should work together. We should not compete, but we should complete. How many of you agree with that? Yes, I see a lot of agree. Thank you. So guys, solution-wise, we have to build a decentralized autonomous organization step by step. So the process of onboarding, then you have the process of KYC AML, because we don't want to have, we want to know our customers, we want to know where the money comes from, we want to make it fully compliant with the government, and also fully compliant with authorities. And people ask me how do you make the DAO complete? I said it will be step by step by with different technologies. You have the KYC, AML procedure that we have to work on. We have to talk with the governments also to work with us together to provide us what they want, and we can look if we can make it work. One of the things I do when I do business, I say, most of the time, everything is possible. We just got to make it work. But in technology, I ask my developers, we got this use case. People want this. Can you make that on the blockchain? And he says yes, or he says no. So if it is not possible on the blockchain, we cannot do it. We cannot make it. But if it is possible, we can do it. So people, I'm going to look at my notes. if I give the best information. In the compliance, they talk about transparency and trust. And they try to tackle it that blockchain or cryptocurrency is not transparent and trustable. What I can tell you, cryptocurrency is transparent and trustable. I have also seen the proof of work of this consensus, because I see that for auditors, you can follow the whole trail of the process. The whole trail of the process that will be from the audits until the end of the process. I see my time is over, that's what I mean. I cannot talk a lot about it. But I will finish that with the present. Go to my LinkedIn page, Julio Falewada. I will send you the ebook that I've written about blockchain, revolutionizing blockchain, and you guys can read more about it. I'd like to thank you guys for, for all of this, and till next time.
Okay, so we're going to try Alison's video again, which we're bringing up, and then we'll introduce our next speaker. And we've got it up. The suspense. This is exciting.
Olá pessoal, eu falo aqui em nome da nossa associação CAP, sou o presidente da associação, me chamo Enoque Esconchapo Marubo. Nós estamos localizados na terra indígena do Vale do Javari. Eu, através desse vídeo, eu queria pedir a Starlink que possa nos ajudar com a conexão dos povos aqui do Amazonas. Agradeço.
No que na comunidade manos campeonal Vale do Javari, Amazonas. Está ali no Chinai, no que Witake no que anúncio no vana terisi, no que nori mama, no que inchorisi mama, não vana terisi, ina.
Yeah. Wonderful. What an incredibly powerful video. Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you for sharing that with us. We'll move on to our next speaker with the topic, the Bitcoin era from writing to banking to Bitcoin. Our speaker is Salahuddin Khawaja. He's giving me the thumbs up. He is the CEO, Hypermode Declaration. Please welcome him to the stage.
Hello. Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Bitcoin era. Whether you know it or not, we live in the Bitcoin times. It actually presents a $58 trillion opportunity. And I'll explain to you, how that happens. If we can get the slides up. Should we wait? All right, as the slides load, I'll just try to begin at least. If you think about human life, right, it's vastly improved over the last 100 years. We live longer, child mortality is low, and it's a result of a series of revolutions. So the printing press made books cheaper. The Industrial Revolution made manufacturing cheaper. The telecom revolution made messaging cheaper. Computer made calculations cheaper. There used to be rooms full of people who used to calculate where the cannonball would fall, but the computer replaced it. AI is making prediction cheaper. And from there, if you think about what Bitcoin is doing, Bitcoin is actually making trust cheaper. And this is the whole idea behind the presentation. So if you think about compounding, right? If I give you a piece of paper and I ask you to fold it once, then twice, then 3 times, then up to 50 times. How high does it go? It goes as high as the moon. It's compounding. If you understand compounding, you can really benefit personally, your wallet, as an organization. And Bitcoin is following an exponential pattern. About 10, 12 years ago, it was worth nothing. And today, it's worth $800 billion. So it's a massive revolution. And I have a series of graphs, if we're able to get the presentation up, that will show you that the market cap has gone from $0 to $800 billion. It's as big as some of the biggest companies like Google or Facebook. Its market cap is more than silver, as an example. And the whole idea is that if you think about Bitcoin, it's 2 things. It's basically a network and it's a currency. On the network side, you can basically send Bitcoin to anyone in the world. It's permissionless. Do you need a permission to sign up for an email address? So why do you need permission to open up a bank account? So because it's permissionless, anyone can participate in Bitcoin. You don't need a national identity card. You don't need paperwork. You can just start working on Bitcoin. You can self-custody the Bitcoin. So you don't need to trust the bank. What if the bank disappears? Banks collapse all the time. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It's also perfect, right? Have you ever heard of Bitcoin being hacked? Never. Because there's billions of dollars of energy being used to compute and validate the transactions. The example we use here in Pakistan is that if I have a fight with one of you guys, I go to your village, the person who keeps the land records is called a patwari, I slip him $100, $200, and the land records suddenly change. The land becomes mine. So Bitcoin is this ledger, right? In one word, Bitcoin or blockchain is a ledger. And that ledger is connected with 15,000 people keeping it connected. So it's impossible, if I had a fight with you, to basically screw you over in the Bitcoin world, right? And that's why it's just this perfect network. You can send billions of dollars, millions of dollars, any amount you want instantaneously. If I want to send a wire transfer from my bank account in New York to Lahore, it takes 3 days and they charge me $50. And God forbid it's the month end, they'll keep my money here in Pakistan because they have to make their month ends, right? With Bitcoin, it's none of that crap is there, right? It's very straightforward, very easy to, transact. Another way to think about it is that if I take $1 million worth of gold from here to the airport, right? They're going to stop me. But if Bitcoin, I can basically take my phone, I can put Bitcoin over here, and I can just leave the country. It's self-custody. That's the beauty of it. Another way to think about it is that if you were going to invent currency today, would you invent it like this? Or would you invent currency here? Right? It's a no-brainer. You would invent currency over here. In Pakistan, we've typically stored our net worth, our wealth, on gold. Right? For thousands of years, so have humans across the world, right? So some of the research I just did over the last 3-4 months shows that the amount of gold that was created in the last 30 years, was it this much gold? Was it that much gold? It was actually 50% more gold was created in the last 30 years. So it was mined. So gold, which is the hardest asset known to humans, is expanding in supply. Bitcoin is 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. There's a hard cap. It will never increase. And more people are trusting their wealth in Bitcoin. So it's not a fringe project, right? People think that, oh my God, it's a bunch of techies with big glasses, computer coding and stuff like that. It's a massive project. $800 billion worth of capital is stored. So the next time when somebody says, what's the use of Bitcoin? The use is store of value, just like gold. And it's a better store of value than gold, because gold is, we're creating more of gold. Think of the Pakistani rupee, think of the US dollar, right? How much debt is the US creating? The US is creating a lot of debt. The same thing happening in Pakistan. So that's why the buying power, the purchasing power of the rupee and the dollar, by the way, is going down. So we here in Pakistan think that, oh my God, dollar is great, right? I moved to the US 20 years ago. A Big Mac meal used to cost $3. Today, a Big Mac meal in New York costs $12. So even the dollar is losing its purchasing power. This is the wrong slide. This isn't the deck. Yeah, this isn't it. It's okay. I'll try to. I don't know if they can get it up, but so anyways, as a store of value, right? If you think about the US dollar, think about gold, there's more and more of it being created. Bitcoin is finite. It's exactly 21 million, and it's not increasing. And so it's this massive revolution that's happening right in front of us, and more of the world economy is going to be sitting on top of Bitcoin. Just like if you think about the internet revolution, what was the internet revolution? It moved data. So when I WhatsApp call you, my audio is being converted into data packets, it hits your phone, and it converts to audio. So the internet basically moves data. So your food, your YouTube, everything that you're doing on the internet, your banking, is data moving. If you think about Bitcoin, it moves value. So all these applications were built on a network that moves data. Now all these applications are being built on top of something that moves value. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. And if you think about like worldwide assets, right? I have an amazing slide. I unfortunately can't show it to you guys. The world assets, there are about $850 trillion of assets. So you add up real estate, you add up stocks, you add up bonds, you add up cash, you add up metals, you add up gold. It's $850 trillion. Right now, Bitcoin is just 800 billion. So it went from 0 to 800 billion in 10 years, 12 years. Humans for 5,000 years have been using real estate. We're using currency. We're using stocks. In very short order, 10 years, this exponential wave is happening. So go back to what I shared earlier about compounding. If you get compounding, the life is yours, right? Because if you think about like the smartphone revolution, one day, hardly anybody you knew had a smartphone. 5, 7, 8 years later, everyone has a smartphone. That's how fast technology moves. That's compounding. And Bitcoin is actually following the exact same path. So it's a great way to store your value and store your wealth. And so it's this asset that just basically is perfect in the sense that it's never been hacked, right? And you can self-custody it. And that makes it really, really interesting. Another way to kind of think about it is that why was writing invented? 5,000 years ago, writing was invented to maintain a ledger. Because we started living together versus being nomads. And we were basically trading. We were trading wool and wood and weapons, right? All of that trading that was happening, the trading account was in the head. So trust was here. But what if I lied? So the next logical technology invention was, oh, let's invent writing. Let's write it down that, hey, I gave you 5 pieces of wood, you gave 5, kilograms of wool to someone else. All of those transactions were written down. What did the Medicis do 600 years ago in Italy? They invented banking. What's banking? Banking is a ledger. Thinking about your checking account, think about your credit card account, think about your trading account, think about your mortgage. All of that is a simple ledger. So ledgers are very powerful because it enables trust. When we started living together in a city setting, if you will, we would only trust our family. But if you wanted to trade with someone else in a different place, there was no trust. So the Medicis with banking allowed that to happen. Gold coins is another great example, right? There are many, many different commodities. There were beads and iron and lead that was used from a commodity perspective, right? And that was what backed currency, and that basically disintermediated trust between two parties because you would trust the gold, right? A coin of gold is a coin of gold, right? And you would trust that to make the transaction happen. So what is blockchain in one word? It's a ledger. In the case of Bitcoin, it's two things, right? It's a network and it's a currency. And this is what I think people get really tripped over, right? The network is what enables all of the transactions to happen. And the currency is like also a commodity. It's a brand new asset class. You can't think of it in the old way, right? Is this a currency? Is it a commodity? It has properties of all of this, and it's actually better because it's finite. There's a self-custody element to it. There's an aspect of it being decentralized. You don't need to trust a bank. And so this makes it a really, really interesting revolution. And if you look at those growth paths, right, there's multiple exponential waves. There's about 50 million users today of Bitcoin. 50 million today. 10 years ago, there was 1 million. So it literally went from 1 million to 50 million. So the next time you see someone or you hear someone hating on Bitcoin, just think of this pattern, that it went from 1 million to 50 million. Is this pattern going to drop off? It may, or it will continue, right? And my sense is that it's going to continue because it's the first thing that humans have invented that's truly, truly scarce. So today we're at 50 million. In a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, where will we be? And if you extrapolate the projections, this is going from a $1 trillion asset class to a $50 trillion asset class. Just like we store our wealth in gold or real estate, people are storing their wealth in Bitcoin. And I think that's going to happen over the next 10 years. And there's another interesting concept over here between if you compare Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto, right? The rest of crypto are technology projects. Some of them are really, really bad projects. Some of them will be really, really successful. But that's just on the side. Bitcoin is going to change the monetary system. And it's basically scaling at a crazy, crazy speed. And it will capture more and more of that value. When you think about real estate, there is a utility aspect to it, that how much do I use it, versus a premium that you put because you're storing wealth in it, which we in Pakistan do all the time, right? But if you move that wealth premium away, because real estate can spread, it's not that scarce, right? Look at Lahore spreading, right? And so Bitcoin is just 21 million Bitcoin. And 19.7 million Bitcoin have been released. Just 1 million or so are going to be released over a year with a lesser, and lesser frequency. And this is a technical concept called halving. And the halving event's going to happen in April. And you're going to watch what's going to happen with Bitcoin. Because the amount of Bitcoin, the supply is going to go down, the demand is going through the roof because the US just approved something called the ETF. Another way to think about what the ETF is, back in the early 2000s, when you're a big company, you're a pension fund, you're an insurance fund, you're like a rich king. If you wanted to invest in gold, you would have to authenticate it, buy it, move it, store it, secure it. So in the US, in the stock market, they created something called the ETF. At the touch of a button, you can buy gold ETFs. So it's just a line entry, right? Somebody's securing your gold for you, big banks, etc., and you just easily can buy the gold, right? So just a week ago, so it's a very interesting time, right? Just a week ago, the US approved the ETF. So $35 trillion of retirement funds in the US can now buy Bitcoin. So will they buy 0.5% of Bitcoin, 1%, 2%? Slowly, it's going to chip away. And this doesn't include the sovereign wealth funds. It doesn't include all the high net worth individuals. There's 60 million millionaires in the world, only 21 million Bitcoin. Not all the millionaires can be even whole coiners. So this whole appreciation of what's going to happen is that only this much of Bitcoin is available for sale because more and more people are holding it. 75% of the Bitcoin have not moved in 1 year. Just think about that. People aren't selling it because they feel, like I feel, it's a better store of value than gold. I don't trust the banks, and I worked on Wall Street for 20 years, right? I don't trust a lot of other players, so I'm going to trust technology, right? And as that money flows in, it's a smaller and smaller space, so what's going to happen with the Bitcoin price? Unlike gold, when the gold price goes from $2,000 an ounce to $5,000, suddenly a lot of us are going to go to K2 and start digging for gold there because it's going to be profitable to dig in places where we haven't dug. But when the price of Bitcoin goes from 40,000 to 100,000, what's going to happen to the supply? Nothing. It's fixed. So the economists in the room, it's an inelastic supply. Nothing can happen to the supply of things. So the demand's going to go up, supply is going to be the same, and it's going to be a short squeeze. And this is something that people who understand this can just see this trend playing out. And it's an exponential pattern that more and more is just total growth. And so if you extrapolate the growth based on the returns, and if you, by the way, compare it to other asset classes like real estate or gold, Bitcoin has consistently outperformed gold and other asset classes. You can compare it. It's a beautiful table I have up here that shows that it's over the last 12 years, year over year over year, it has been the top performing asset. And so this is a way for us to kind of secure our wealth and trust it versus others. And the way it works is that $850 trillion of global wealth, more and more of that will be denominated in Bitcoin. So countries that are progressive, like if you think of Dubai and Singapore, they've taken a very progressive stance, and they've created regulation to allow for Bitcoin and crypto. Other countries are not taking a progressive stance. So those that will be progressive will participate. Thank you so much.
The other slides.
Yeah, I don't know if they want to see the graphs or not.
Did you want to move back to the other slides first? We're going to do a Q&A, but did you want to show your previous slide first?
Who wants to see graphs? Do you want to see graphs? Sure.
Okay, we've got some avid graph lovers.
I spent a lot of time working on the presentation, so I'm glad I can show it a bit.
I'll
We'll
move
get
to
it
the
up.
side. Yeah.
By the way, I'm an engineer, right? So I come at this from an engineering perspective, and I worked on banking, so I get that. My ex-boss, Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan, doesn't get this. He's not an engineer. So you're going to hear a lot of bankers and non-technical people spew all sorts of stuff about it. They're because they have entrenched interest in this space, right, with their banking franchises, and they're not engineers, right? So I'm going to see if this works. Is the clicker going to work? So we talked about this, like literally that revolutions bring price of stuff down. And tech adoption happens. I think this went too far ahead. Let's see if we can bring it back. I think there's a little bit of a lag. Let's see if we can fix it. This is just showing the evolution, right? Paper currency from China, the Medici's ledger I talked about. This was an interesting point I didn't mention in the talk was in 1970, the US and the world currencies basically switched from a commodity-backed standard to a fiat standard. They just said, hey, trust us. So who here trusts governments, especially with money, right? That's all they're doing is printing money. And this is what the standard is. And so in many ways, it's this concept of ledger, like playing out, and money playing out. And Bitcoin is money and ledger together. And so this is the network aspect that I mentioned. It's a ledger, it's decentralized, it's secure. And then there's the money aspect and the commodity aspect where there's 21 million Bitcoin, and that's it. No more is going to be created, right? It's a store of value. The medium of exchange thing is playing out right now. People use it to send billions and millions of dollars. Eventually, your local store is going to accept it, and you can do very, very cheap transactions. And this is, Bitcoin's in a very interesting place, right? It's right there with Apple, Amazon, gold. So it's not like, I think a lot of people will have this perspective that it's, these big thick glasses, coders working on Bitcoin. It's $800 billion market cap. Every year, annualized, 112%. This isn't over 10 years. This is every year, 112% return. Tell me one other asset that's kind of giving you this return. So store of value use case has been achieved, right? And it's now moving from here to do much more and more bigger things, right? Number of Bitcoin wallets, 50 million Bitcoin, 47% annual increase. There aren't that many compounding events like this that every year that increase like this. This is the electricity and the compute power. Every year, it's been increasing by 40%. It's protecting the Bitcoin network. Like the US military protects the dollar, compute power protects the Bitcoin. Number of nodes. The example I gave you about the land ledger. $200 and suddenly the land ledger changes. 15,000 people maintain the network. You can't change it. 15 million Bitcoin have not moved. More and more people are just holding it, right? They're just not selling it. And that's a 28% increase every year. Then, this was the halving I mentioned. Initially, 10 million Bitcoin were released. This was the time when somebody used 10,000 Bitcoin to order a pizza because they were just like cents. Eventually, if you look at how it's halved and halved and halved and halved, it's like literally this much supply is available. And what happens with each halving is that the graph goes up. If you hit the next button, I guess you're doing it. So basically, the price has been shooting up, right? So it went from literally $100 to $19,000 to $64,000. What's going to happen at the halving that's going to happen in April? It's a very likely chance that it's going to be between $100,000 and $250,000 in terms of the next halving. And then transactions. How often are people using it, right? If we go back, 57% annual increase in the number of transactions. Annually, this is how fast it's moving. Show me one other tech that's moving this fast. Next. This was the fun slide I referred to earlier, right? Real estate. If you add up all of these asset classes, Bitcoin is just at the bottom. 10 years ago, it would have been like a dot on this, and it moved from a dot to 800 billion. It's moving up. This is, I think, a fantastic slide, and we'll go back a bit, which shows where people's mindset is. There's something called the negativity bias. Humans are focused on the negative things. I may know you for 20 years, but if I did one bad thing in our friendship a month ago, you're going to remember that more than all the good stuff that we did, right? So over here, people always remember the dips. But if you look at the dip, it's still a 7,000% return. It went from 65,000 to 15,000. It was a 1,700% return, but people are saying, oh my God, it fell. It fell, but it was still a 400% return. So every time people say it's volatile, this, that, just look at this, remember this. And this is where we are. Having number 4, that dotted line, is happening in April. And that's just about 8 weeks from now. So what's going to happen in the next year? What is your Bitcoin strategy, right? You're as an individual, as a company, how do you deploy this tech, right? That's what you all should think through. If we keep going. The $56 trillion opportunity, where does that number come from, right? And the background to this is that, Pakistani rupee sucks, right? But we're in really, really good company. The Egyptian pound it sucks a bit less. Next. Just keep hitting next. Nigerian naira sucks a bit less. Then Pakistani rupee. Hit next. Next. The Turkish lira is worse than us. Keep hitting next. You can hit it a few times. So we're in really, really interesting company, right? We're in the middle of the currencies that suck. There are currencies that suck less, And then there are currencies that suck more. But we're really in a really, really bad place, right? And the dollar, right? Literally, since the Federal Reserve was invented, the value of the dollar has been decreasing. I gave you the example of the Big Mac meal costing $3. Today it costs $12. Dollar is bad also. US national debt has basically increased. This was the chart I mentioned earlier. Look at Bitcoin right at the top compared to stocks and commodities and bonds and cash. It's literally year after year, it's got the best returns. Next. What was the fastest entity to $1 trillion? Was it Microsoft that took 44 years? Apple took 42 years, Amazon took 24. Bitcoin took 12 years to $1 trillion. That's how fast this is moving. Next. So if you add up the total wealth, it's 850 trillion, it's a 0.1%. It's likely going to be 5%, if not 10, 15, 20. But let's just be conservative, right? I don't want to get excited, I love Bitcoin, but let's assume it's going to take 5% of the world, right? And if it takes up 5% of the world's wealth, it becomes a 71x return. So this is over the next 10 years, Bitcoin adoption is going to be taking off because the trends are there, right? That's my Twitter account, my X account, I guess. If you guys want to follow me, I'd love to share insights on Bitcoin. Happy to take questions if we've got time. Oh, you don't have time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Salahuddin. Thank you so much. We have a special moment now. I'd like to invite the CEO to Kira from Enigmatic on the stage from South Punjab, who would like to offer Tahira Azam, the mother of Azish, but also I feel like she's our mother as well, with a shawl. So if I could bring you to the stage. A round of applause, everyone. Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, we'll move to our next speaker, who is going to be talking on mobile innovation, the power of tech with Samsung. Do we have any Samsung users in the audience? Quite a few. Then stay tuned. This will be the talk for you. Joining us is Speaker Umair Guman, the Director, Country Head of Mexico of Mobile Experience, Pakistan and Afghanistan from Samsung Mobile. Put your hands together. Over to you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I think we have less foreigners, so I can kind of mix the language. Okay, right. Appreciate it, right? Okay. My name is Umar. I've been in the corporate world working for the last 26 years. I am married. I've got one wife. In Pakistan, one wife is more than enough. I've got two kids. Yeah, coming on Saturday over here is a big challenge, you know, getting off and working for a corporate world. So I've got two kids, and both kids are from the same wife. So I'm really optimizing my life over here. All right, so when the organizers contacted me and they said, you know, why don't you just come over and talk about mobile innovation? And to be honest, I wanted to come over here to learn a little bit more. Because, you know, when I am moving around and talking to the students at the university level, a lot of kids come and ask me, we want to be a corporate entrepreneur like yourself. And I tell them, okay, but there are less opportunities, but there are more opportunities outside. So I personally feel that there are a lot more opportunities that a lot of people are not looking at right now. And these opportunities are in the tech world. So I thought, why don't I come over and get inspired myself instead of, inspiring others. So I'm here to learn as a student from all of you that what are you people doing? There is so much out there to be conquered and explored. So few hours back, I was at one of the universities at their convocations as a guest, and I was talking to few people over there, and they said, "बड़ा brain drain हो रहा है जी, यहाँ से सारे लोग चले जाएंगे." कुछ वहाँ पे लोग जो गेस्ट आए हुए थे, यहाँ से लोग चले जाएंगे, फिर इनकी जगह कौन करेंगे? तो मैंने कहा जी 5,000 बच्चे यहाँ से अभी ग्रेजुएट हो रहे हैं, 5,000 फिर उनकी जगह आ जाएंगे। तो अगर आप 5,000 बच्चे बाहर भेजते हैं तो वो 5,000 बच्चे अगले 2-3 कम से कम 2 जनरेशन तक पाकिस्तान में पैसे भिजवाएंगे। I personally feel working for multinationals for 26 years, we've been consuming quite a lot of forex, and who are sending those forex? Those who are working outside and sending money back home. Now, why can't we export these people? पाकिस्तान का सबसे बड़ा एसेट यंग लोग हैं. About 65% of the people are under 30, 35 years of age. They are a real asset. When a lot of people say कि पाकिस्तान का फ्यूचर क्या है, पाकिस्तान में क्या होना है, तो मैं बता रहा हूँ कि आप लोग जो बैठे हुए हैं यहाँ पे, majority of लोग आप फ्यूचर है. Export yourself, export your services, and try to bring in what matters the most. A lot of successful countries in the world, you talk about India, हमारा neighboring country, बांग्लादेश हो गया से, पाकिस्तान में बहुत सारी चीज़ें हो रही हैं. ये सब चीज़ें इस मुल्क के अंदर फॉरेक्स लेके आते हैं. जब टेक्नोलॉजी और टेक इनोवेशन की बात करते हैं तो आई सेल मोबाइल डिवाइसेस फॉर माई लिविंग. We sell mobile phones. The idea is not that technology becomes your masters. The idea is that you become the masters of the technology. I'll talk a little bit about Galaxy AI, the recent phone that we have launched, which is enabling and providing you the enabling environment to be able to talk and learn and speed up your pace of earning more and getting more productive in your daily life. But that's besides the point. The more important thing is, let me just draw a comparison between myself and my younger brother. For example, he runs a company, a tech company out of Florida. He's 5 years younger, and he is employing 200 people in Pakistan and sending a lot of forex to Pakistan and educating, enabling. Thank you. Once he sees this, I'm going to tell him कि यार ये बड़ी अच्छी बात है कि लोग appreciate कर रहे हैं. And they have a company in Lahore. 200 people are getting pretty good salaries, and they are working for people in US, and by the way, they're very happy. A lot of people say कि जी Indians बहुत काम कर रहे हैं, and can you believe the Indians are giving him work? One of my distributors who lives in Dubai, he is potential distributor. They are the distributors of our competition in Pakistan. So he says he's an Indian, lives in Singapore, and says, Umar, look, if somebody who is from Pakistan, and I'm not prejudiced about the institution, but he has got great experience of people getting from who studied at LUMS. Says, if anyone who's Pakistani and studied at LUMS, I'm just going to hire the person aankhon mein patti bandh ke. And I asked him why. And he said, Pakistanis are hungry, talented, and they are not very expensive. And this is what, if you travel like 20 years back, India used to be. 20, 30 years back, India used to be. Now we are almost sitting at a point where people have started recognizing our efforts. So I've just given you two examples. Don't see India as a threat. See India as a source of inspiration who are really fueling their economy by investing more in people. And what I see out there is very, very inspiring. And to be honest, instead of inspiring everyone, yeah, come to corporate world, I had a nice life, but I think what is the next chapter for me? The next chapter for me is what you people are doing at those startup things. Now, coming back to my brother's company, I recently went to Harvard Business School for a training, and I was there, and three of my brother's partners flew all the way from Florida to meet me in Boston, and then we moved to Dallas together. Now, here I just like to talk about a little bit about the tech people. They're very good at what they do, but maybe they need to work a little bit more on how to make connections and meet with people and develop the business. I used to be a business development manager 7 years at Samsung, and before that, I worked for 17 years at Tetra Pak. For B2B sales, I used to take 2 years to develop a customer. So if you people ever get bogged down by the fact कि जी बहुत मुश्किल है, काम कर रहे हैं, कस्टमर नहीं मिल रहा, मैं आपको यकीन से कह रहा हूँ, आप मेहनत करें, आपको कस्टमर मिलता है. I don't know how, but it happens. Thank you. This is an appreciation you will give to yourself, inshallah, when you will just stick to it. When I was given a B2B role back in 2011-10 at Tetra Pak, I went to the MD and I said, do you want to fire me? Fire me straight away. I'm not going to be able to develop the business. And you know what he said to me? He said, look, Amar, I don't want you to bring more customers. I want you to establish the systems and the processes and just follow up on the customers. 5 years down the road, when I was leaving that role, nobody probably had ever done this. I had signed 7 customers, 5 are still operational, for the likes of Fauji Foods, for the likes of Tapal, I signed, and Citropac, and Slice Juices, and multiple other customers I actually worked on to develop. But 2 years was a timeline to develop a customer. Now, coming back to my brother's company, the 3 partners, great techies, software engineers working out of Florida, 200 people. And now, when I talk to them, they said, look, we have been able to establish a business based on our own credibility. People knew us, and they gave us the business. Now, when it comes to developing the new business, they were realizing कि ये तो बड़ा मुश्किल काम है. And I took them out in 2-3 different states in America. I knew more people than they knew because they are the tech gurus, and they were sitting in their own home rooms, working from office, wherever, but they did not have the network. So which means that you need to hire competent people who are competent in their own field ताकि वो business develop करके दे सकें. Now they are evolving their business, mashallah, very, very effectively. But still, जहाँ जहाँ उन्होंने अपनी credibility establish की थी, उनको कारोबार वहीं से मिल रहा है. उनको अभी नया कारोबार नहीं मिल रहा. Maybe 2 साल का जो cycle complete होगा तो मिल जाएगा. So this is what I just wanted to tell you people कि please don't be disappointed, don't get bogged down, don't ever think कि नहीं होगा. ये होगा और आप लोग करेंगे और आप लोग ही करेंगे इंशाल्लाह. Now coming back to the Samsung. Now I'm not here to sell a product. It is already selling very well, by the way. So that's why I just wanted to use less of that, and I wanted to give this message to everyone that you never know. In future, I might see myself on that side of the table and listening to speakers. But as a tech guy, so you guys have inspired me so much. Despite of having a great career, I am still thinking, यार कुछ और करना चाहिए. So hats off to you people, and a round of applause for all of you for making it happen, for the corporate people to think that this is the future, not us the future. So you guys are the future. So let's explore more opportunities, let's work on it, and obviously hire people who are better than you are. I'll just give a little bit snippet about myself. You know, I am working for 7 years in Samsung. I've been rated among the 60 top leaders in Samsung world, not Pakistan, in Samsung world. And I asked the Samsung leadership team, they were making a story about me. And there's a 7 minutes video which is run in the Samsung Leadership Center as mandatory part of the leadership training program in the conflict management category. people have to, whether they listen to it or not, but they have to listen to the 7 minutes video about my professional journey to be able to, thank you, to be able to get inspired. So, there is nothing special about it. To be honest, there's nothing special about it. In 26 years, I was just telling them my story that I made a lot of mistakes, and what I started doing was I stopped making all those mistakes. And what did I do? I started working for others. I started hiring people who were better than me, definitely better than me. Whenever I interview a person, I say, इसमें ये काम मेरे से बेहतर है, इसमें ये मेरे से बेहतर है, ये मेरे बेहतर है. अब मैं जब so what happens is I have a lot of great people around me, and what I do is I only pull the strings together and use my 2.5 decades of experience to be able to make sure. So I work for others. I am a people manager. I do not manage my work. My people manage my work. I only hire great people. So the solution to your success is hire people who are better than you are, and I'm sure you will reach heights and you will get success, inshallah. And I wish you all the best of luck. And I came here just for half an hour, but I think I'm going to be spending 1 more hour to get inspired from all of you people. A big round of applause for all of you. I love you all.
Sorry, 1 second. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Introducing our next speaker with the topic, A Visual Tale, join me to explore AR and VR. Our speaker, Rayed Mikal, the founder at AVR Labs. Put your hands together. I'm definitely sure. I have been told. Have you not been told? I'm just pulling speakers up at random. I'm just throwing people off a little bit. I know that when I asked yesterday who has experienced virtual reality and augmented reality, I had quite a few hands up. That was yesterday. How many of you have experienced AR and VR in this room? Yeah, quite a few hands, right? I mean, we are at a technology festival after all. Okay. Over to you, Rayed. Who would you? Superwomen Pakistan. Are they playing the video now? Okay, cool. I'll introduce it now. Okay, before Rayed comes out, we're actually going to play a 2-minute video. It's a Superwoman video, which, who wants to be a Superwoman? I know I do. Oh, we've got quick hands. Yeah, a lot of Superwomen. Female, the future is female.
Superwomen Pakistan.
Okay, I'll better get off the stage so that you can watch the video.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Superwomen Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sadafalta Floya, and I'm a founder and CEO of Superwomen Pakistan. Superwomen Pakistan is feminine health, hygiene, and wellness platform that targets the taboo topics of the society, females living in urban and rural areas both. We solve these problems through omni-channel approaches, leveraging e-commerce store, smart dispensing machine, period comic book, awareness and education sessions, thus to create more proactive and inclusive world. This platform is dedicated to empowering and uplifting women across the nation. We are excited to announce the upcoming launch of our Superwoman app right here at Future Fest. Our app is designed with you in mind, offering features like a period and pregnancy trackers for personalized health insight. You can also seamlessly shop for a range of curated products through our online store and stay informed by reading empowering blogs. Join us on this journey of empowerment and mark your calendars for the Superwomen Pakistan app launch, because every woman deserves to embrace her strength and live life to the fullest.
Superwomen.pk app, your go-to for a wide range of feminine hygiene products. Period and pregnancy tracking, and even mood swing monitoring. Plus, shop Pakistan's first ever comic book and maternity kit. We've got it all. Download now and enjoy 10% discount with code SYP10. Empowering women with convenient solutions through our Hygge vending machines tailored for corporates and educational institutions. Superwomen Pakistan, your ultimate female solution.
Ooh. Okay, now we're ready for our next speaker. Did I just get a reference?
Hello, hello.
Okay, Rayed is ready. Put your hands together. We're ready for our next speaker, everyone. Over to you.
Hello, Lahore. Hello, everyone. My name is Rayed Mikhail. I'm coming from Dubai. I've been living there for more than 35 years now. This is my first time in Pakistan, and I love the food over here. Today, I'll be telling you about a little bit of the future, which is happening right now, and why you need to embrace the future. And since we are in a technology event, I thought what could be a better way of letting ChatGPT fetch my bio from the internet. So what I did, I asked my GPT, what's my bio? And this was the result. So, do you know that the Fortune 500 companies' lifespan currently is less than 18 years old? So big companies usually last in the current moment for 18 years or less. Although in the 60s, it was around 75 years. So there's a reason why the lifespan is getting shorter for companies. According to the management consultant firm McKinsey, can we go back to the previous slide, please? I'll tell you when to change. Can you go back? Back. Yeah. So according to McKinsey, 75% of the S&P 500 companies are going to vanish in 2027. We're talking about 3 years from now. This is a huge number. The reason why, because of the technology field. The technology field is moving really fast. Maybe you've heard about so many case studies like the big giant company, filmmaking, Kodak, and the wrong decisions that they did because they were stubborn enough not to jump into the digital cameras, and they did fall behind. And there are so many cases for that. So we know that digital transformation is a key for a success. So every business, every company has to become a technology company for it to succeed. So this factor will tell whether the company will survive or it will fall behind. So what we know about digital transformation, previously we used to send letters, then we moved to fax, then from fax we used to emails. So the importance of digital transformation, I think everyone knows it. Enhances customer experience, it will enhance efficiency, reduce cost, and most importantly, it will also reduce carbon footprint. So there is no doubt that digital transformation is important, and it will increase the revenue. So today, I'm going to tell you about the next generation of digital transformation, which is extended reality and AI. Extended reality. Before I dive deep into extended reality, how many people here, raise your hand, knows what is extended reality? All right, how many people is confused between the terms virtual reality, extended reality, mixed reality, augmented reality as well? So there are so many terms, AR and VR, correct? So let me break it down for you. Now, in all those terms, there's the word reality. And this is where I'm going to start. Working well. So if you open your phone camera on a selfie, you're going to see a reality. So you'll be seeing yourself, correct? So on the other hand, which is a bit more popular, it's the virtual reality. You wear a headset, all you see is virtual. You don't see the reality. So this is virtual reality. Now, what is augmented reality? Augmented reality is your filter. You have your camera, you're seeing the reality. You use one of Snapchat, Instagram, even now mobiles have a built-in filters. So the filter that you see is augmented reality, which is augmented information on the reality that you're seeing. Now, there is a term that you don't hear much, which is also in between augmented virtuality reality, which is I am wearing the VR device. Everything I see is virtual, but if I raise my hand up, I can see my hand. So I'm seeing part of the reality in the virtual reality. Now, all of this in the middle, not the reality, not the virtual reality, is called mixed reality. So to make it easy on yourself, just use the term mixed reality. Now, all of this will be also considered as extended reality, including virtual reality. So extended reality, then it's not just about visuals, it's not about seeing stuff virtually or hearing stuff. No, this is way much more. It's technologies that tap into our senses that will give us a feeling of presence in this digital space. It could be feeling, it could be smelling, it could be hearing, so many stuff, which I will come to in a second. Now, let me show you the use cases in businesses for those technologies. Let's start by augmented reality. As you can see here, using a mobile device, I'll be able to, if I want to buy a rug for my house, with just a click, I will be able to visualize the rug in real time in my own environment with just a click. Real dimension, real colors. If I want to change the parquet flooring, for example, in my bedroom, with just a click, mobile will open. The technologies now in all of our mobiles has those advanced technology that will calculate the depth. It will detect the floor, and immediately I can change this in real time. Now, that's the case for artists as well, and art. I want to buy a piece of art. I want to see the color will match, the size will fit on my wall. Again, with just a click, I can do that. By the way, you can scan the QR code if you want to see this chair in front of you. Just once you scan it, camera will open, point it out on the floor, and you're going to see the chair right next to you. Yeah. Other use cases, which is marketing, other use cases will be for education as well. Now, if you scan this QR code, you're going to see the astronaut that we have done for Future Fest, which is this one, flying with. So you don't need an application to do so. Those are technologies that are already built on your phones, on everyone's phone, and it's already out there. Let me jump to virtual reality. Virtual reality, there are so many use cases for virtual reality, but I'm going to shed light on two very important use cases which you're going to see in 2024. A lot of big brands and big companies jumping into this, which is virtual websites and virtual showcasing. You can have a virtual sales office, a virtual showroom, and I'll tell you how this is going to be used in a minute. Mixed reality. Trainings. So you have your team, you want to train some people, and the environment that you want to train them in is a bit tough, a bit dangerous. Like, for example, we have virtual labs here. Virtual labs has chemistry lab, biology lab, we use this for education, and physics labs, where students can go into the laboratory, mix chemicals with each other. It's a safe environment, even if the mixing of the chemical will burn down the whole thing still, it's completely virtual. So they can do experiments they can't do in real life. It would be too dangerous whether to harm themselves or to burn down the school. Last but not least, which is very exciting, those technologies fall under extended reality. A group of researchers have invented a cup. You pour on it water, and you program this cup to taste like orange juice, to taste like apple juice, cocktails, regardless. It's just water, but what you're feeling, you're drinking that sort of cocktail. In the middle here, this is a generated image by ChatGPT. I couldn't find an image, but I've read multiple articles of this. It's a digital scent, a digital smell. So if someone gives you a flower in the metaverse, you're gonna smell the flower. You will be able to wear perfumes in the virtual world. And I believe that this function will be available in less than 10 years in the VR devices. Last but not least, wearables. Wearables, you'll be able to feel the touch, you'll be able to feel the head. And there's a group of researchers who did an extension of the Oculus, which is the Meta VR device, where you can feel the breeze. If you're for example, on your motorbike, you will feel the breeze hitting your face. The air will be hitting your face. If someone kisses you in the metaverse or in this virtual space, you're gonna feel that as well. So those falls under extended reality. Now, why this is very important for you to understand? Because companies and giant tech companies like Apple, Meta, Microsoft are spending billions on those technology. They understand the importance of this technology. And we're gonna see the Apple Vision Pro in like 4 to 5 weeks. March, it will be available in the market. We've seen Meta previously this in 2023, the new version, and Microsoft, there's HoloLens 3. Of course, it's not just them. There's Google, there's Samsung, I believe, who's investing in those two technologies. So it's not going to be just extended reality. It's not going to be about virtual stuff or augmented stuff. It's going to be powered also with AI. So what Meta did, they have the glasses with Ray-Ban. Looks like cool glasses anyone can wear, and it has a camera powered by AI as well. So those sort of technologies are going to go very fast. Speaking of AI, I want to tell you about Mo Gaudat. Mo Gaudat, he previously was the head of Google X. He was considered the third best position in the whole world. So where all the inventions, where all the crazy new stuff that come out of Google, it was under his supervision. So this guy, he said something. He said the evolution of AI, if we want to put this into a graph, this graph is going to be curved. Slide? Yeah. This graph is going to look like this. It's going to be a curve. So the evolution of AI is we're going to reach to a point where in one day, the development of years will happen in a single day. So currently, the tech industry as a whole, it is fast. It's moving upwards. But because of AI, we're going to reach to a point where in one day, we don't know this day is going to be, it could be tomorrow, it could be in weeks, months, but for sure, it will be before 2029. Because scientists can't predict what's going to happen before 2029. So it's going to be moving really fast. And this is why you need to have an XR and AI strategy for your business. Because businesses that will not embed those two technologies are going to definitely fall behind. We've already seen with normal technologies like email, automation, and all that, the lifespan of companies dropped from 75 to 18 years. My time is over. Thank you, everyone. I hope it was an enjoyable session. My name is Raad Mikhail. Embrace the future. Embrace the change. The future is already here. This is my QR code, and you can connect me. Thank you.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Powerful conversation. Now we're moving on to another speaker with the topic Bridge Continents, the role of AI in Nordic pedagogy in Asian education. Our speaker, Baba Baig, he is the CEO and co-founder of Right Reader. Please welcome him to the stage. We'll just get him a mic first. Nordic pedagogy. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Has anyone heard of Nordic pedagogy? You have? We have? Pedagogy. Pedagogy. Am I not pronouncing it correctly? Pedagogy. Anyway, we'll learn much more about it within this session. Over to you, Baba.
Okay, no worries. We wait for the slides. I can just give you a short introduction of myself. As mentioned, my name is Babur Beg. I'm founder of WriteReader, which is a digital learning platform enabling children to become authors while learning to read and write. We're going to talk about Nordic pedagogy versus Asian and learning sciences. My own background is that I'm born and raised in Denmark, so I've experienced the Nordic style of teaching. So it's really interesting what's happening in education right now is because of the technology and especially AI, we can bridge a lot of gaps. So once the slide is up, I will start my presentation. Yeah. Yeah, so what we're going to talk about today is basically functional illiteracy. So I want you to kind of think about, we have illiteracy, which is basically students, adults that are not able to read and write. So we have a lot of those worldwide, but we shouldn't forget functional illiteracy. Now, functional illiteracy is students, adults, that are in school or have had an education, but are still struggling with basic reading and writing skills. So this is a group that is often kind of overseen. So we're addressing this particular problem. In each classroom, you will find at least 10 to 5% of the students that don't find the curriculum presented to them interesting. So especially in Nordic pedagogy, as we see here, I'll just go one back here. So in the next 10 minutes, I will show you how AI can help build bridges between the different learning sciences and eradicate functional illiteracy worldwide. So we are addressing the largest problem in the world, which is being able to read and write. These are some of the stats. We have more than hundreds of millions of students right now will become functional illiterate in school. So, and different learning sciences have been applied. So in the Nordics, we are very proud of the Nordic way style of teaching. In Asia as well, there's a lot of good learning sciences. Now, it doesn't mean that the Nordic style of teaching versus the Asian, that one of them is superior to the other. Both have positives, and both learning sciences can be improved. So this is an overview. In the Nordics, it's more about student-centric approach, where the student is allowed to grow at its own pace. Whereas in Asian pedagogy in general, so there are many other kind of differences. I've just selected 4 of some of the keys differences as I see it. So it's a lot of play-based learning in the start, in the Nordics, where the learning sciences in Asia is more structured with a strict curriculum that needs to be followed. And obviously also the memorization is a key part of this. So is there a way where we can take the best of both worlds and combine it and offer it as a solution to the students to help functional illiteracy? Let me show you and tell you a little bit about our tool. So WriteReader is a web-based platform which enables children to become authors from an early age. It's scientifically based. We spent 2 years in scientific study trying to find out that why is it that students, they become functional illiterate? Why are students struggling with basic reading and writing skills? So what we found out in our research is that it boils down to one factor, and that is motivation. So how can we motivate children from an early age so that they can realize what real life literacy is. So we created this platform based on that research, enabling students to become authors from an early age. So when a student has a book in his hand, an authored book in his hand when the student is 5, 6, 7 years old, now they know why they need to excel in reading and writing because it's a real life literacy example and it's not just some ABC that they need to learn. So we need to provide our students with some real life examples. So I just need to pull up the slides again. Yes. So it's about 21st century skills. So we need to enable students to also awaken their curiosity, enable them to collaborate, and not only focus on, let's say, testing and assessments. So, and also the social skills is also very important, but we are seeing the shift. When I talk with a lot of schools in Asia about our solution, they almost have the same kind of concern, and that is, it's fine with creativity, but what about assessment? How can we assess that students are being better or learning to read and write? So with our authentic kind of platform where students can print out their books, they can create book fairs, we can enable that. So we have more than 1 million users worldwide. We have partnerships with some of the largest US districts who have acquired our solution to mitigate the literacy gap. It's a one kind of solution where students can practice all language domains. It's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And we work directly with publishers. So what we did 4 years ago, that we conducted the world's largest research project in terms of early writing. We tracked almost 2,100 students for 3.5 years. We tracked them how they wrote from when they were in first, second, third, and fourth grade, and we have all that data set. So together with the Danish Technical University and the Danish Pedagogical University, we built our own AI model and put our own data into this. So we did the automation of this with more than 50,000 data sets, and now we know exactly what kind of mistakes students are making when they are younger. We're using this data to detect early dyslexia, because we have the patterns now, which shows and tells us what a dyslexic child, how they will write when they are young. So we use this data now, and we have now built the assessment into the creative part. So combining both pedagogies, we have now an ability to provide data to teachers and parents, especially teachers, so they will be able to see while the students are while they're being creative, creating books, they can now also see how they're progressing in their literacy development, because we took 8 factors of literacy development, like quantity, complexity, variation, precision, and put those into our AI model. And now we can actually provide that data to teachers. Teachers can also get a full overview on how the student's outcome is, and which student the teacher needs to focus the most on. So this is a help for the teacher, so the teacher knows exactly in what kind of literacy parameters the students need the most help. So this is what we have done, and also we have piloted this in Asian schools in Hong Kong with our partners, where the tool is also being applied right now. So this is just one example on how we can take different learning sciences, use AI, build the models, and take the best from both learning sciences. In our case, we use the creative writing and build our own assessment into it, so that we have one tool which caters for both the Asian market and the European, and especially the Nordic market. So with this tool, this is just one example on how we can utilize technology. There are other examples, but this is one example on how we can bridge the gap between different learning sciences. So we have helped hundreds of thousands of students to motivate them for literacy, and we plan to help millions more. So if you think you can help us reach that goal, I would love to talk to you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good afternoon, Lahore. How are you doing? Hi, I'm Jimmy Nguyen from the United States, and I have the pleasure of hosting a very special segment we've conceived for this 2024 third edition of Future Fest. It's called the Nguyen Hour. Why is it called the Nguyen Hour? Well, my last name in Vietnamese, where I was born in Vietnam, is Nguyen. But as a Vietnamese immigrant refugee kid growing up in the 1970s and 80s in America, nobody could say that. So they tried everything else, Nguyen, Nguyen, eventually Nguyen, and then Nguyen sort of started to emerge. And that really stuck, especially when I was in high school and university years, because I used to compete in speech and debate competitions all over the United States, and I used to win so many events, my fellow competitors and friends started calling me Jimmy Nguyen. So that stuck, led to a career in law, blockchain, Bitcoin leadership for the last 7 years, and now I am an entrepreneur in tech and business projects across the world, including here in Pakistan, under a brand called New Nguyen Global. So Arzish, my friend, was so kind as the host of Future Fest to help me use this event to pilot a new speech concept I've been thinking about for a long time. As a global speaker, I always get frustrated when you listen to speeches and they're kind of boring and then you don't feel like you really learn anything that affects your life or career. Well, we're trying to elevate that. You've probably all heard and seen TED Talks, which really transformed many years ago how they say ideas are shared. We are here to pilot my concept for a Nguyen speech, which is trying to transform how we teach and inspire people to win at certain fields of life and profession. So we have curated from the speaker list here at Future Fest some global leaders who have been invited to share how to win at one chosen field that we've discussed with them, such as innovation, win at education, win at health, win at sustainability. To give you one win lesson that can be articulated in 15 words or less, with a speech that's 15 minutes or less, ideally, and to share their personal and professional stories to teach you how. That's a Nguyen speech, and I am proud to introduce today two Nguyen speakers. We'll begin with the first, who both of them today come to us from Norway. So this is Norwegian Nguyen Day. Ready? Give it up for Norway. It's very cold there, even colder than here in Lahore right now. Our first speaker is here to give you a speech about how to win at tech leadership. He is the former vice mayor of the city of Oslo in Norway and currently the founder of a tech company called Easy Comply. Please give it up really loud for our first Nguyen speaker, Usman Mushtaq.
Thank you so much, Nguyen. Dear everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I hope you still have some energy left. It's been a long day. You've been listening keenly on the fantastic speakers that have been here before me. I'm going to talk about tech leadership. And I'm going to start off with a time period in our humanity which was particularly devastating. Over a century ago, as World War I was ravaging Europe, millions of deaths, there was an incredible tech race going on. And one of the people that were involved in that tech race was a renowned scientist from the Imperial Germany called Fritz Haber. And his name is synonymous with the paradoxes of tech advances. Fritz Haber, in his quest to scientific discovery, discovered and concocted a chemical called chlorine gas. It's a weapon that has a devastating impact. It goes into your lung and makes you feel like you're drowning on dry air, in dry land. Imagine that, drowning, feeling of drowning. And it was so wild that it was banned in battlefield use. All countries agreed that this is a weapon of too big of an impact. However, Fritz Haber is also the guy behind the world-known Haber process, a method to produce synthetic ammonia using nitrogen from air, which some of you may know is used to produce fertilizer to boost agricultural yields. If the Haber process wasn't invented, we could not have sustained the 8 billion population that we have today. And this is the paradox, the dichotomy of tech advancement. It's a double-edged sword capable of both tremendous benefits and incalculable harm. And we've seen this again and again over the past decades. Groundbreaking discoveries that are ushering immense prosperity for humanity, but at the same time also causing mayhem. Nuclear fission, offering clean energy, but also humanity-ending weapons. GPS and satellites, navigating our daily commutes, making our life easier, but at the same time also navigating deadly missiles. Social media, connecting the world that the way that we thought it was impossible just a couple of decades ago. However, it is also fueling the atrocities like the Rohingya genocide and radicalizing communities. Autonomous machines and AI, it is helping us be more efficient. It is helping you code and maybe doing your homework, but at the same time, it is also the potential to create a source of an avalanche of misinformation and disrupting societies. And least but not least, I mean, blockchain and cryptocurrencies, which you've heard so much about, heralding a financial innovation, security, privacy, tokenization, all that is awesome, but also enabling an industrial scale of money laundering and illicit financial transactions among criminal cartels that we haven't seen before. So as you're here today, you attended Future Fest because you are either an aspiring or already tech leaders and innovators. We need to recognize the immense power that our innovations hold for our societies and that can change both our societies but also global dynamics. And does that mean that we need to be careful? We need to regard ourselves or censor ourselves? Absolutely not. What it means is that we need to have creators and founders that are aware of the full potential of their innovations, how it is impacting both in the good way and in the bad way. And only then we're able to maximize the benefits for our societies. Because most people here, I am assuming, is also doing this because they believe in you believe in a bigger good. And let me give you one very particular example of this. Every tech innovation that is used in a bad way or by a bad actor inflicts a societal cost on the society. It is a cost. You can feel it in one way or another. And this one example is also the reason why I moved from being a doctor, politician, to end up becoming a tech entrepreneur. It is about access to financial services. And most of you know, access to financial services is absolutely crucial for socioeconomic development. Having a strong SME businesses that have access to financial services is crucial for economic growth. And it should be on the top of every decision maker's agenda. And it is, right? However, still, there are hundreds of millions of people and hundreds of thousands of businesses, potentially even millions, that do not have access to modern financial services. Even with the advent of fintech, we had a fintech panel here earlier today talking about how fintech is revolutionizing. And do you know one of the biggest barriers for this? It is bad people using the same tech for bad stuff, money laundering, financial fraud, etc. And when that happens, government regulators and decision makers, rightly so, will need to impose regulations. And these regulations is the cost. And that cost is paid by the entire society. So this dilemma intrigued me so much that I didn't only invest in a startup, I actually ended up working on compliance issues. I made it my mission to leverage technology to make sure that the unintended consequence of technological innovation wasn't a barrier. So I established a startup that worked on simplifying the burdensome process around compliance, money laundering compliance, KYC compliance, and counter finance terrorism compliance, and at the same time making sure that the fintechs can do what they were intended to do. And I called the company Easy Comply. So through my journey as an entrepreneur, I learned that tech leadership demands a profound commitment to build trust. Because what happens when bad people use the same tech that you guys innovate is that we erode trust. In my home country of Norway, I'm a Norwegian Pakistani, I'm born and raised in Norway, the trust between and within the public, the government, and the private sector is incredibly high. That is one of the reasons why that country is such a great place to live. And most places in the world does not have that level of trust between the public, the government, and the private sector. And as I mentioned, every time a bad actor uses tech in a bad way, it erodes the trust. Hence why we also need innovations to make sure that we stop the bad actors using our tech. So I'm saying all this because I know that many of you are in the process of establishing your own companies or already working in companies. Having a purpose with what you do, you're able to do a lot more and also able to attract a lot more talent. My focus currently is on tackling financial crime and money laundering, which cost not only the Pakistani economy, but the global economy trillions of dollars. But there are an ocean of these problems. For instance, who's going to work on making sure that the revolution that we're seeing in artificial intelligence or general intelligence doesn't end up causing more harm than it does good? Who's going to do that? That also requires innovation, and those are the types of challenges that you have to help solve. So I will end my talk with one challenge, or actually multiple challenge to you, and ask you some questions that I hope you can reflect and think a little bit about. So the company that you work with, or the innovation or the startup that you plan to start or want or have already started, is it alleviating a burden in society, or is it creating new ones that needs to be alleviated? Always think about that, right? Secondly, are you able to facilitate and help build trust in society with what you're creating or where you're working? Because that's also incredibly important. And this leads me to my win lesson. And it's a little bit more than 15 words, I'm sorry, Jimmy, but a true tech leadership means that you are able to have a principle, a guiding principle, that your innovation not only advances human ability, not only makes our societies better, but also deepens societal trust. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Usman. I'm going to have you stay here on stage. Big round of applause for Usman. You are the very first Norwegian Pakistani I think I've ever met. Are there many Norwegian Pakistanis?
Yeah, we're a few. We're a few.
Do you have a little club you meet in?
Oh, everywhere Pakistanis go, there is like a congregation.
Right. So first of all, thank you so much for being one of our world's first ever WIN speakers and trying this out. For those of you in the audience who don't spend your lives thinking about AML compliance or regulatory compliance, it's a topic near and dear to my heart because I was a lawyer for 21 years in the US. But for the young people who are thinking about building startups, you may be thinking, why do I need to pay attention to this? Any startup, mobile app, web business that is collecting and sending money, digital currency, NFTs, is going to eventually hit this wall of how do we have funds or assets come in and out And then some regulator is going to say, or payment processor, you need to verify the identity of the people you're sending the money to avoid violating money laundering laws. And that's particularly important in countries like Pakistan, which have been on the gray list, for example, in the past with FATF. You will not be able to operate even the coolest game, NFT, whatever business you're thinking of without dealing with it. So thank you for bringing this very adult topic to our attention. It's also near and dear to my heart because I worked in the Bitcoin and blockchain industry full time. And what you said really hits the nail on the head. I'm a big proponent of good use of blockchain, cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin technology. But our industry has been tainted by the reputation of bad money laundering, drug criminal use of the assets, and it's made it difficult to deal with regulators. So what piece of advice from your experience, especially with Easy Comply, could you give to people here who want to build businesses in these kind of avant-garde industries like Bitcoin and blockchain in particular, or metaverse that have to deal with assets that trigger these AML requirements?
Well, I can say one thing, and that is that instead of seeing compliance as a tick mark exercise where you have to do, it's a burdensome process, look at it as an advantageous position where if you are really good, you can use it in your marketing. You can use it as a trusting partner. And we have too few of those. And this is why I think, just changing the perspective of why this is important. And hence why, our technology is helping, but there's also, other ways of doing this.
What I tell people is to bake it into your design, not add it on after the fact. If you're making a cake, AML compliance needs to be put into the batter, not a piece of frosting layered on top. Years ago, when privacy and cybersecurity issues started becoming very hot in the digital tech world, as a lawyer, I would tell my clients, you need to bake privacy by design into your product architecture, not worry about it once the cool parts are done. How do you think people here who are entrepreneurs or executives at big corporates can bake AML and regulatory compliance better into the design of their products?
I think everything is about how do you mitigate risk. So once you are onboarding a customer or a business, one of the biggest reasons for why I was saying SME markets don't have access to financial services is because KYB, like know your business, is so costly, right? It is so incredibly costly. So one way to do that is that you need to, first of all, make sure that your systems are integrated, and the other part is already looking at the risk and using your risk categorization to, guide your interventions. And if you do that really well, I think you can save a lot of money later.
That's a lot of big words here from Usman Mushtaq. Final question, especially for all the young people in the audience who are students, developers, entrepreneurs who are aspiring to create their own wins in the world. What one piece of life or business advice would you give them as someone who's been an investor, entrepreneur, and government official yourself?
Well, I started off as a doctor, and it is possible to change your field.
Oh my God, exactly. Lawyer, now like tech entrepreneur.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah, exactly. It is possible to do things, but wherever you are, in whichever field you are, in whatever you're doing, make sure that you do that well.
Bingo.
Because that's going to be your stepping stone to your next.
Even if you don't love what you're doing, be excellent at it because people notice. And it's those people sometimes who take you to other things. And I'm going to say this, hopefully parents in the room do not get frustrated with this. I know as a Southeast Asian, especially immigrant myself, and those of you who are obviously South Asian here, often feel this pressure as young people growing up to go to school and pursue a career that will make your parents happy. Lawyers, doctors, right? Computer science, engineers. I know, I did it too. I was a lawyer for 21 years and I had a great career, but I didn't love it. I knew I didn't love it deep into the career, but then you sort of feel like, now what do I do? And you don't want to disappoint your parents. First of all, it's possible to make big career shifts. I ended up in the Bitcoin and blockchain world as a tech lawyer because one of my own clients saw potential in me and said, what are you doing being a lawyer anymore? You're our favorite lawyer, but you've got so many more skills you need to get out. And that led me to ultimately becoming CEO of a blockchain tech company that they formed in London, really launched my career into the global blockchain and Bitcoin tech sphere. But the biggest thing I had to overcome to achieve my own personal wins was to let go of doing things because they pleased other people.
Yeah.
How did
That's
you
a
do that?
really good piece of advice. I mean, I can also say that my parents are from Central Punjab, and obviously their biggest wish was that I also became a doctor. I mean, I actually love being a doctor, and I'm doing a little bit on the side. However, you're absolutely right. Do not do it for the other people. Do it for yourself. And even if you're stuck a place, just do a good job, and that can be your ticket out.
Yeah. So, biggest lesson I have is you have to really find what motivates you and use that to empower your wins. I know it's hard. We all want to please our parents. We all want to have the job that pays steady and decent. And sometimes it's hard to be a risky entrepreneur. So I totally get it. But thank you so much, Usman. Thank you for sharing with us your thoughts on winning at tech leadership. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Before I introduce our second win speaker for this afternoon, I want to take a moment to give a big thank you and shout out to one of our win speakers from yesterday who was here. He was Buki Gari, who is the head of digital technology and innovation at Etihad Engineering, a segment of the famed Etihad Airways out of the UAE in Abu Dhabi. So he was here yesterday to share his thoughts on how to win at change, because he has worked in digital transformation for many years, including in industries such as the airline industry, which are slow to change, slow to adopt new digital transformation technologies. But he's been able to be very successful at pushing innovation initiatives to transform Etihad into one of the leading technology-enabled airlines in the world. So I want to give him a big thank you for his great speech and really inspiring the audience, both young and especially at the corporate and government leaders, in envisioning how you can win by embracing change and not being afraid of change. So a big round of applause to Buki Gari from Etihad Engineering. Our next win speaker also comes from Norway, but she is not Pakistani. And she is a big supporter of initiatives here, as she'll explain to you. And she's going to deliver a speech about how to win at networking. Many of you here, especially younger people, are here to meet, network, and it's been a key igniter of my own professional career. A lot of the opportunities I received came from meeting people, and it can be very scary and awkward at first when you're young, going to events where you don't really know anyone. There's older people, there's people in fields you don't know. I had to do it as a young lawyer at the height of the internet.com boom in the mid-1990s, going to these .com conferences by myself and having to learn that awkward thing about talking to a stranger and getting them to talk to you and figuring out how to follow up and figuring out how to do that without being annoying, a pest, and irritating. There's a skill and art to it, and you'll learn it over time, but it's one of the most valuable life and professional lessons that you can learn. To give you a speech here, a win speech on how to win at networking, please welcome from Norway, the CEO of Make-A-Wish Norge, Kirsten Andersen.
Hello, do you hear me okay? I've been on this stage one time before today, but bear over with me. So, did I know that when I first met Afaq Ahmed in Austin, Texas, 10 years ago, that I would be in Lahore for a second time? And my third visit to Pakistan, that our Karachi Oslo Startup Challenge in 2016 would lead me to meet Ashish Azam again in Austin. Austin is kind of a key thing here. And during South by, which led to the first PAC Day in Norway. The Pakistan Tech Day in Norway in 2019 was phenomenal. And in a way, it jumpstarted this Future Fest. And that would mean meeting all of you here. And that, I think, it's like a win-win situation. And what Jimmy said about, networking. So I come from a country where we're 5 million people, where we are sitting on each other's buses, and then I come here, and it's a lot of people, a lot of curious people, which is amazing. And I love the energy, and I would love to come up with a few good pinpoints. Is that, look, like if you just want to take, selfies are really good, and keep on taking selfies, but also it's not enough. Like, you should pick up a few people you want to know and use a bit more time on them. Maybe do some research if you're going to a conference, or do research online, and you know, be humble and not all, like, when they're in a conference, they're there to network. When they're not in a conference, that doesn't mean that they might have the time. So at least, you know, be aware to ask for their time in a polite way. And if they say no, it's not because they're mean. It's just because it's a bit overwhelming. So it's going to be really cool to kind of find a way of networking online, which is, you know, which doesn't overwhelm too much us from Norway, to put it that way. But and I love the, you know, I love the kids that are here with their business cards, and I'm really looking forward to see how they are doing in just a few years. What kind of startups they have, you know, done, and if we could bring them to Norway. And I don't know, was any of you, did you listen to my boss from House of Math? Because I also work 50% in House of Math, and she had a great speech here. And you should go into House of Math and look at, you know, what they're doing, because that's also something really great for building, you know, network and something to talk about. And I love that we bring along people that we meet on the way, and new people may show up, but you don't need to lose touch with the, you know, the friends that you already have. However, it's also important in networking that not all friendships need to survive. So you have to get energy from it. And that is sometimes something I personally struggle with, because I tend to invest a lot of myself in the friendship, and that makes the network personal in a way. However, not everybody will gonna like you, and that's all okay. And you don't have to like anybody you meet either. And my superpower is more in dialogue, in personal dialogue, than speak in front of like large crowds like this. My former job was in the city hall, and I used to write speeches for people like Usman, and you know, and write policy. So I was always behind the scene, you know, telling them what to say, but not actually saying it myself, which is kind of cool. So why am I doing this win session? One, because I was challenged, and I accepted the challenge. Two, it gave me an excuse to come back to Pakistan for my third time. And third, to visit old friends and meet new ones. And to eat a lot of food in Lahore. So why do I travel to conferences like Future Fest? Oslo Innovation Week is the biggest conference in Oslo, and South by Southwest, among others. Why not just go and do it online? Because I love brain crushes. Have you ever had brain crushes? Anyone? When you meet people and you just want to hear them talk, and it's so interesting. I think I'm addicted to meet smart people and pick their brain. And last year, Maxine was here with her startup named Pick My Brain. You should also look that up. And I love the conversations that I'm so fortunate to have in places like this. And of course, laughing. I've laughed so much. And I think that the win lesson would be collaboration, meeting not like-minded people, but people whom brains or minds you like. And not winning the discussion, but learning, then you actually win. So you don't always have to be eye to eye on things. It's boring to be with people that means exactly the same as you do. So I actually have time for questions. Is there anybody that has a question? No? Cool. Then I will think I've done it before time. I've actually kept the time. I think I'm the first one here. So I think, but now Arsis is here, so I would also like to say again that he's an amazing person who makes this happen. And I hope he gives you a lot of inspiration to take this further.
All right, big round of applause. Give it up for Kristen. Okay, stand here. Come over here to the middle. Come over here to the middle. So, Kristen, how is networking different in Norway than around the world? Are there country cultural differences?
I could say that in Norway it might be a bit harder.
Why?
Because people usually network with the people they know.
Correct, yeah. That happens in a lot of countries. There's sort of a cultural insulation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I say the same thing in Vietnamese cultures. Even the refugee immigrant population in the US, they like to just, go to their own restaurants, hang out with their own families. And it was the hardest thing for me as a young lawyer, where my parents had no background or business contacts in the US. I remember going out as a young law school graduate going, oh, how do I find my first job? There was nobody to help me, right? And it was very uncomfortable at first. So do you have any tips about how to sort of break out of these insulated networking cocoons?
Well, I guess one thing is see the possibilities and not see your background or color or sex or anything as a barrier, and stop treating it as a barrier. It's a possibility. Yeah. And it's mainly about personality, I think.
Indeed. And I think people also accept that a lot of people, when they're networking, especially young people, are shy. And it's okay to say to someone, oh, I'm a little new at this, I'm shy at this, would you mind talking to me? That's often the best rather than some random sort of introduction.
Yeah, and also it could be interesting to actually have something you want to talk about,
Bingo,
Yeah.
yes. Networking tips. First of all, be curious about learning about other people. One of the best things you can do if you're trying to network is ask about the other person first, rather than immediately say, hi, I'm Kristen, and I got to tell you all about my startup and my business, and it's great. And here, sometimes I get what I call the verbal diarrhea thrown at me when I'm at events because people are looking, for a job or investment money or things. It's always best to engage someone by trying to learn something about them first.
My daughter, Juliana, she's soon 18, and she told me once, because, she's in the age where she wants to talk about things that she thinks is a bit difficult. And as a mom, you want to, say it's all right or come up with a solution. And I'm quite verbal. So one time she just said, Mom, sometimes you don't need to come up with a solution. You can just listen. And that has kind of, hit me. Yes. So, which is difficult for people like us.
And if there are particular people that you want to meet because you've heard them speak on a stage like this, or you've seen them online, and you try to reach out to them through LinkedIn, my biggest piece of advice is to actually know something about them or what they do or what they're interested in before you say hello to them. I cannot tell you how many LinkedIn and social media messages and emails I get that are generic, that I can tell are boilerplate, which are things like, hi Jimmy, I'm so excited to see what you're doing with blank company, and I would love to discuss potential collaboration, which I can tell is generic, right?
Yeah.
And so,
they read your LinkedIn profile. Oh, I liked your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, right, engaging. So I'll give you an example. The reason I'm here in Pakistan at all started with networking that someone did with me in Dubai a number of years ago when I was president of the Global Bitcoin Association for BSV, and we were leading growth into the Middle East region. I spoke at an investment summit in Dubai. My now business partner, who's Pakistani, Mohammed Salman Anjum, was in the audience. He liked my speech, which was really focused on good business enterprise use of blockchain. I got off the stage. He walked up to me. Immediately, I barely had gotten off the stage and was very bold of him and said, I really liked what you had to say. Can I have your business card? And I said, okay. And then he said, how long are you here? Can I meet you for a cup of coffee, later? And we sat down, but it started with him listening to what I had to say and telling me at the first time what he was interested in about my message about use of blockchain. And through, years of relationship building, it led me to meet people like Arzish and his family, and that is why I'm here. But it started with someone honing in on what I was interested in and asking me about it.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Any other
Yeah.
other last bits of life advice, especially for the young people here? Remember when you were some of their ages? I don't.
Well, I do think, like, I have a law degree too, and you don't have to become
law degrees.
Yeah.
Give it up for law degrees. By the way,
We
even if you
don't-
go to law school and don't practice law anymore, legal education is one of the best educations you can receive. It really teaches you to write, organize thoughts.
But
analyze
AI is
things.
coming and
AI is coming,
taking
but
it
it's not
all.
going to get rid of real live lawyers. But
They will know.
But yeah, but
But-
you can have a law degree and go on to other things.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that whatever you actually are doing as a profession, like there are several doctors here from Norway, and they do now, now they're entrepreneurs too. So
Yes.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. Like,
But
take the
do
challenge.
well in
Yeah.
what you start with, because that breeds the reputation that leads to other opportunities.
True. And meet. And one more is that be present. Like, when you meet people, don't look at either you say, I'm sorry, I don't have time to talk to you, but don't look at the phone when you're having a discussion.
Yeah, the mobile smartphone revolution has really changed interactions between people.
Or your watch.
Yeah, the Apple Watch. But I want to underline again that point. We discussed it with Usman. I underline it because it's such an important thing for the young people. I think most young people feel this extraordinary pressure to decide what to study in university, what graduate degree to get, what first job and career to pursue, because it's pressure from parents, society, often particularly the family in Asian, South Asian, and other cultures, to please parents. And I fully get it. I absolutely understand. I want you to know that whatever choices you make, choose them because you're interested in them. They do set up the possibility for a good career, but it does not lock you in for life.
Exactly. And you can always learn new things, and you can always, it's a continuous journey.
Absolutely.
So we can learn a lot from the young people too.
So make decisions, but don't create this really tremendous pressure in your head that if I'm choosing to go to engineering school, I'm choosing to go to medical school, that it's something you have to do for the rest of your life. It's not. It often can lead you to new opportunities if you use some of these lessons well, such as how to win at networking. All right, please give a big round of applause
Thank you.
for Kirsten Anderson. Thank you for your time. Tomorrow we've got one more Win Hour featuring some of our greatest hosts here, Arzish Azam and his father, Azam Malik, and some other guests. So please have a great rest of Future Fest. I'm going to turn it back to our other Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on stage Dr. Haji Muhammad Rafiq Pardesi, who is the chairman of HMR Group.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a great pleasure for me that I'm in front of all the special IT people, mashallah. I just especially came from Karachi just for 2 hours to attend this conference, mashallah. And thank you for Brother Azam and his father. There are lots of opportunities in Pakistan. If you just see on the map how Pakistan is built, only the neighbors of Pakistan is more than half of the world. So we cannot go wrong. Once we will start, I know that my country has got the champions, the best people in the world, mashallah. They can do a lot, but we are still late. But jahan se jaage wahin se savera. We have to do fast work, mashallah. Azam bhai, you just go ahead. We are with you, inshallah ta'ala. Nowadays, government has started special investment zone. My request to the government also that you have did the investment special zone, but at least start a special innovation zone also, a special innovation council also. So at least our new generation, our new people, our young people, we are, whatever we have did the behind, maybe we are behind 100 years or 50 years, whatever it will be, we will work on the war food and inshallah we will work very fast. So at least our new generation, our new people will work and we will go ahead and at very fast speed we can control or we can just come to at least some extent inshallah ta'ala. So at least government has to do some fast decisions and we, all people, including me, we have to work in all Pakistan. Azam bhai, I'm ready to, if your people wants to come to Karachi in Sindh also, you want to do something conference like this, we will do everything for you people, inshallah. You just come over there and just start the work. I want my young people, my young generation very strong. They will not think like me. They will think very, more than the point, beyond the point, mashallah, inshallah ta'ala. My duas are with you people, inshallah ta'ala. What you have did, God bless you and give you more and more success in this work. This is the work, this is the job which we were supposed to do before 20 years. You just see our neighbor countries like China, where they are now. Just see India, where they are now, and where we are now. But inshallah ta'ala, I hope that once we will start work our own, let government support little bit, but we will do our own. Inshallah ta'ala, we are also the government, alhamdulillah. We will do our best, inshallah. We are not behind, we are not just simple or sleeping people. We will do hard work, inshallah ta'ala. I don't know, my whole beard is white now. How many years are left for me, but I promise you, whenever you are ready, I will do work with you. If you want to work 18 hours a day, I will go with you. I will do the work with you, inshallah. For my new generation, for my children, for my daughters, for my son, inshallah ta'ala. अल्लाह सुब्हानहू तआला आप लोगों को आने वालों को कामयाब करे इंशाल्लाह ताला. आप लोग आगे बढ़ो, चीज़ों को आगे बढ़ाओ. ये मत सोचो कि काम किस तरह करना है. आई ऑलवेज से वन थिंग दैट अब टांगे खींचना बंद करो, हाथ पकड़ना शुरू करो. एक दूसरे का हाथ पकड़ेंगे तो काम आगे बढ़ेगा. एक दूसरे की टांगे खींचेंगे, आई हैव नो टाइम. मेरे पास ज़िंदगी में एक सेकंड भी नहीं है तुम्हारी टांगे खींचने के लिए. तुम्हारा हाथ पकड़ना है. एक बाप होने के नाते, एक सफ़ेद दाढ़ी के फ़ायदा उठाते हुए एक बुज़ुर्ग होने के नाते हम लोग आप लोगों के साथ हैं इंशाल्लाह ताला. हम लोग जिस तरह बोलोगे, और मैं बहुत फास्ट चलता हूँ आज़म भाई, आप जब चलोगे मेरे साथ तो आपको मज़ा आएगा इंशाल्लाह ताला. और किस तरह काम करना है, आई नो द जॉब इंशाल्लाह ताला. अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाह. यस मैम.
Well, 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 thank you so much for that. For our next speaker, I first have a question for the audience. How many of you have kids? How many of you have kids in the audience? Well, you definitely want to go, you're going to want to tune into the next one. We now have Unlocking Wealthy Family Secrets to College Admissions. Our speaker today is Dan Yulin. He is the founder and CEO, Elite Student Coach. Please put your hands together for Dan. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Welcome to the stage, Dan.
Well, thanks. Do I have a mic or?
Yes, we've got a mic.
Okay.
Over to you.
Okay. What is up, Lahore? Hello. That's weak. All right, I'm going to ask you to participate a lot. Hello. All right. Wow, I'm so pleased to say you are one beautiful crowd. My name is Dan Yulin, founder and CEO of Elite Student Coach. I take brilliant, brilliant kids like you and empower you to go from exceptional to unstoppable. How many of you would like to go and become unstoppable? Give me a yeah. All right. This is so awesome. Okay. Parents around the world pay me a lot of money to work with their kids. I work on a one-to-one basis only. So there's not enough time in this, how long is it, 12 minute, something like that, 15-minute presentation to do this. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to break it down for you into 3 easy steps, and then I have a surprise for you at the end. Is it okay if I give you a surprise at the end that's worth a lot of money? I'm going to give it to you. You okay with that? I heard no. No? Is it okay? Do I hear a yeah? All right, okay. Here are the 3 steps. It's 3 easy steps. Step number 1, lean in. Step number 2, stand out. Step number 3, step up. Let me break that down for you. Lean in. I talked about this yesterday when I was on the panel, but many of you weren't here. So here's what lean in means. Lean in part 1. I'm told I got 2 fingers. Lean in part 1. Leaning in part 1 means leaning into the things that you already know that you love to do. So let's say that you love comp sci, or let's say that you love building robots, or let's say that you love baking bread. It could be anything that you like. Now, when I'm speaking to you, I'm talking to some of the very young people here. I see some kids who are, 12, 13, 14 years old. And I see some people who are already in their 20s. So I'm speaking in general terms. Everything that I'm talking about, by the way, I empower kids to get into colleges and graduate schools, but this applies to you whether or not you are going to college or uni or grad school or not. Okay? Fair enough? So lean in part 1. Lean into the things that you know you love already. Lean in part 2. Lean in part 2 means leaning into the things that scare you the most. How many of you are scared of some things, like not knowing what you want to, and thank you, Jimmy, for lining that up for me beforehand, not knowing what you want to do in the future. Raise your hand if you don't know what you want to do in the future. Raise them high. I can see you. All right. Here's the deal. Not knowing what you want to do is awesome. Here's the where you land on it. Not knowing and then sitting in the not know is not a great place to be. But not knowing and being curious and saying, I don't know, but I want to find out. Or even better, I don't know, but let's find out together. That's a great place to land. Okay. So that's the lean in part. Part 2. Stand out. If getting into amazing schools in the States or here in Pakistan, Pakistan has some of the greatest schools in the world. Would you agree? Would you agree? Bring it. Would you agree? You have fabulous schools. And you're graduating 1 million students a year in a country that has, the census count, last census count in this country was 2017. So I'm hearing about 225 million. It's probably closer to 275 or 300 million. But that's 1 million students per year coming out. And we heard yesterday that industry cannot possibly absorb all of these students. So it means that you're going to have to become more entrepreneurial, which is awesome, yes? So standing out when it comes to applying for jobs or applying for jobs meant just having great credentials, or applying to schools meant having great grades and having great test scores. Everybody would get into schools and everybody would get the same jobs. Standing out means standing out in a way that is uniquely you. Let me give you an example. Sir, the gentleman who was just up here, what a great pleasure meeting you. Tell me something that you do that you love so much in your life. Connecting people. What a wonderful way of doing it. Okay, connecting people. Yeah, let's give him a hand. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. And there are so many ways of connecting people. But maybe you, and I'm just going to vamp on this, maybe you connect people in a way that's very, very different. Maybe you are able to recognize something in this person, and I realize that I should connect this person with this person, and you make a call and you connect them, and magic happens, yes? It's magical when we connect people. And let's say that you are applying for a job. You're a young person. You look pretty young to me now, but let's say you're younger, and you were applying for a job, or you're applying to a school. That way of connecting people that is uniquely you is the thing that's going to help you stand out. There's a saying in marketing that you want to be first, better, or different. Now, being first is tricky. When I say first, name the first electric car on the planet. Yeah, everybody says Tesla. Nope, it wasn't Tesla. It might have been the EV1. None of you were born when the EV1 came out, but everybody says Tesla. Being first is very difficult. You know, Coca-Cola may be a first. It's really hard to be first. You're definitely not going to be the first great applicant to any company or any school. So first is tough. Better is in the eye of the beholder. How many of you study comp sci or anything related to science? Or, oh, come on, raise your hands. I know there's a lot of scientists and mathematicians here. All right, all of the hands go up. That's awesome, except for that one guy out there. He's like, nope, not me. Thank you, one guy out there. You're awesome. So it's better is in the eye of the beholder, but you could always be different. Strive to be different. And if you can't be different, have one of your friends or trusted advisors. Have your friends sit around and say, what's different about me? What do you see in me that is different from anybody else out there? It's those differences that are going to help you punch through the clutter. Yeah? Oh, there's my slide. Can we advance to the next slide, please? Person who is in charge of advancing slides. This is just my my cover, and then this is my. Okay, great. Punch through that clutter. Become distinctive in a way that is absolutely unforgettable. Great. This is my logo. And the reason I bring up my logo is this. Become fearlessly different. A lion is fearless. Yes? Yes? Make a sound like a lion. Rawr. Let me hear it. Now, come on, louder. I want to hear a lion. Come on. Who made us sound like a house cat? Wow, that was crazy. All right, so you guys are so awesome. I can't stand it. All right. Part 2, the star. What's your North Star vision? What is the vision that you're going for? And again, you don't have to know. You don't have to know that I want to be a robotics scientist, or I want to be a professional dancer, or I want to be a writer. You just have to figure that out over time. All of you are going to have multiple and serial and parallel careers, right? You're going to have careers that overlap and dance and interact with one another. That's a beautiful thing. But the reason that the North Star is there is based on this idea. If you don't know where you're going, you will surely get there. Have a distant point on the horizon that you are going towards, yes? And lean into that. Fair enough? How many of you have ever had a goal that you've tried to reach and there's beauty in getting there even though it hasn't been perfect along the way? Yeah? Raise your hand. Raise them high. You guys are awesome. That's part 2. That's stand out. Part 3, step up. There's a saying, and it's been said by Marcus Aurelius and Sun Tzu, power is not earned, it's taken. Now that doesn't have to be a mean thing. It's that nature abhors a vacuum. Whenever there's a vacuum, something's going to fill it. Take your power. Yes? I will give you an example. Many people apply for jobs or apply for internships or they wait for the opportunity to come along. So let's say that you are in, how many of you are in university right now? Or college? Or a lot of you. And how many of you would like to get, say, a research position with one of your professors? Raise it. Okay, cool. Great. And the typical way that this happens is that students will wait for a position to get posted, and then everybody will stampede towards that. Does that happen in your school? Everybody waits for a position to get posted, and then everybody goes for it? Yeah, that's usually how it happens. Yeah, I see somebody frantically waving. Okay, here's one way to go about it, recommended way to go about it. I'm watching for my 10-minute warning. Don't wait. Identify your 5 favorite professors in that school, or if you're looking for a job, your 5 favorite companies. Write a 1-page business plan, literally 1 paragraph, telling the potential employer or telling the professor what you can do for him or her. Don't go in saying, I want to do this. Talk about what you can do for them. We are all creatures of self-interest. What's in it for them? Go in and say, this is what I think I can do. This is what I think I can do for you. This is what I think I can do for you. Will you give me an opportunity to do this? Make a list of 5 or 10 of those. I guarantee you that by the time you hit you may strike gold on the first one, but I guarantee you by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th or 5th one, somebody's going to say yes. And why? Because the way that people do one thing is the way they do everything. And if you show up that way in the beginning, the professor or the employer is going to say, wow, if Manur showed up this way, imagine how she's going to show up later on, okay? So, I'll add on a couple of other things. It's not where you go to college, it's not the company that you work for, it's how you show up where you go. So in my country, for example, there's Harvard and there's Yale, there's Stanford, they're great schools. Those are great schools, but it doesn't matter if you go to those, or it doesn't matter if you work at a Tesla or an Apple. Yeah, those are great companies, but it's not about where you go, it's how you show up where you go. Does that make sense? I'm reading 5 minutes. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Does this resonate with you? Does this make sense? You all have great power. Tell me, I got power. Same guy. Thank you, one guy. I want to hear all of you say it. I am powerful. Let me hear it. Yeah, you are. You are. And because you're so powerful, I made a decision this morning. I told you I charge parents around the world a great deal of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars to work with them. And there's a reason that I do that. But I made a decision today to pass that on to you. Is that okay with you? Same guy and his two friends. Is that okay with you if I give you a gift that's worth several $100,000, all of you? No strings attached? Is that okay? All right, here it is. I'm sorry, Will, what's it called? Okay, I've started a Facebook group several hours ago called the Young Leaders Success Circle. Now, I know the connection here is not good. Young Leaders Success Circle. Join it. No strings attached. There's no cost at all. Nothing. Just join it. Come in. Tell us that you have joined from this group, and I will come in at least twice a month, answer any questions that you have, and I'll probably do some Facebook Lives. Will that help? Will that be helpful? You can talk about jobs you're looking for. You can talk about anything that matters, and I will do the same thing for you that I do for these parents on a more limited basis. How does that sound? Oh, come on, guys. How does that sound? All right. Where is our wonderful MC? Okay, where are you? Oh, let's give it up for this amazing, and let's give it up for the whole team that's put this incredible event together, yeah? Give it up. All right. The only thing I ask for in return for joining the Young Leaders Success Circle, and I want to honor you by being here, is to have you shout out my name so that we can honor you when we're using this video. Is that okay with you? Okay, all right. So my name is pronounced Dan Yulin. Nick, can you take it over from here?
So we're going to say Dan Yulin 3 times. We're going to have a practice run. Dan Yulin.
Much louder, please.
Yeah, it was a test run. It was a test
run.
That
was really good. You guys are really amped up. So, all right.
Do you want to stand
Can everybody
up?
stand up?
Maybe we need
Can
the
everybody
power from the feet.
Stand up.
And
Yeah. Oh,
move
thank you
around a bit.
so much. Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, Dan. And if some of you want to turn on your flashlights too, on your phones.
Let's make this
wave
a
around.
moment.
Oh yeah, let's make this. Come on, this is the closing
Let's
session of the
make
day.
this a
More
moment.
flashlights. More flashlights. More cowbell.
Let's sway.
Oh, this is magic.
All right, ready? Dan Yulin. Oh,
One more time.
Dan Yulin.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Inshallah, I hope our paths cross again. I'm Dan Yulin. See you again. Thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dan.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful. So now we've got a quick 5-minute speech from Arslan Javed. The topic from Code to Canvas, exploring AI-generated art and creativity. That'll be a good one. Who's into AI? Yes? I know I am, especially now. Helps you with everything. Do we have Arslan here? Oh, you're over here. Welcome to the stage.
Is it on? Yep.
Over to you. Huh?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Arslan Javed. I am a computer systems engineer. I am also a creative technologist, which means I work at the cross-section of art and technology. I'm just waiting for the presentation to come up. So I'll give you a bit of a background. I've been into 3D animation since childhood, and when I went to college, I started freelancing. That gave me a lot of confidence, and I could reach out to anyone and work with them across the globe. And right after graduating from university, I started my business for projection mapping, in which I did 3D projection mapping across the globe. I did projects in New York, Boston, Berlin, Manila, Dubai, everywhere. And we even won the World Championship of 3D projection mapping. All right. Excuse me? It's stretched. Okay, it's okay. So today I'm going to talk about how technology is changing art, content development, and one of the companies that I recently co-founded, Musawwir.ai. Musawwir, as you all know, is an Arabic word which means artist, painter, photographer. And this is exactly what Musawwir does, the website. So in my presentation, all the images that you see are generated using our platform. So Musawwir won generative AI competition at Dubai Future Foundation. Out of 650 startups that applied, we won. And we got to be part of the Dubai government and work with them. So Musawwir is also part of the NVIDIA Inception program, where they are helping us with GPU support. So with Musawwir, what you can do is you can generate very realistic images of anything. So just imagine if you're a marketing manager, you don't need to book a model, get a cameraman, hire a studio, do all that. You can do it by just giving Musawwir a prompt and generate the results. So as you can see, you don't need to hire a model anymore. You can generate this image within a minute using Musawwir. You can generate artistic images as well. You can generate cinematic images. You can generate models. You can generate architectural images, cinematic images. So it's really great for storyboarding, marketing, content development. If you're a content creator, you can use Musawwir. So there are other image generators out there, but how are we different? Musawwir makes it easy to generate culturally diverse images. Like you can generate a Pakistani person, you can generate an Emirati, Chinese, which is not very good in other generators. So some of the generators out there aren't very user-friendly, and we make it very easy for you. And then we generate very high-res imagery. For example, if you give this prompt to Midjourney, which is the top image generator out there, to generate a portrait of a handsome Emirati model, this is what you get. As you can see, he doesn't look Emirati, he's not wearing Emirati clothes, and it's not culturally appropriate. But if you give the same prompt to Musawwir, this is what you get. The dressing is proper, the person looks exactly Emirati. So this is one of the challenges that we solved. So the second thing is high-res imagery. Low-res images can't be used in marketing campaigns, on billboards, on high-res displays. So Musawwir can generate 4K images. So this is a 4K image. As you can see, there's no pixelation. So the UI has been made very simple. It's just like ChatGPT. You can go up there, give it a prompt, and you'll get the results within 30 seconds. So this is one of the hottest features on Musawwir. It's called consistent avatars. So you can generate a single character over and over again using different prompts, and it will always keep the face same. So if you have a brand ambassador, you can generate an AI brand ambassador and not have to hire one. So this is an image of Imran Khan generated with using the consistent avatars feature. As you can see, this tool, this technology can be used for a lot of misinformation as well. So we have to be careful, and I think the regulations need to kick in to make it safe. So some of the features coming up are multilingual prompting. You'll be able to prompt it in Urdu, Pashto, Arabic, any language.
And then animation generation as well. You'll be able to generate animations using just prompts. On a serious note, I would like to say that as a brand, Musawwir stands with Palestine, and I would ask all of you to raise your voice on every level. So this is what Palestine looks like right now, and this is how we would want it to look like. This is how we would want the mothers in Palestine to look like, with smiles. So you can all connect with me and drop me a message on LinkedIn. If you want free credits on Musawwir, you want to try it out, just reach out to me. You can scan the QR code and reach out to me on LinkedIn. And I would like to congratulate Arzish and Azam Saab on a great event. There's huge footfall and it's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, I would now like to invite the Managing Director, Azam Malik, to the stage to offer an award. To Aslan Javed. Wonderful, thank you so much. So we have our final discussion of the day, and it's incredibly inspiring conversation. Before I introduce, I just wanted to say a huge thank you from myself for being so incredibly hospitable. I'm leaving now. I've got to go straight to the airport, so I wanted to make sure I had an opportunity to say goodbye. So I thank you so much. I love Pakistan. I'll definitely be back. Okay. Love you too. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. My biggest fan out the front. So I'll introduce the final speaker and the final discussion for today. Before we move on, I just wanted the opportunity to say thank you. This is incredibly powerful. We have the first Arab woman who soared beyond Earth, the speaker, Sarah Sabri. It's a fireside chat with Mo Salah. Please come to the stage. Big round of applause. And thank you so much. Really appreciate it. You guys are absolutely amazing. Lots of love. Yep.
Thank you, Nikki. I think you're doing an exceptional job. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Hey, Sarah. Good to have you here. How's your first trip to Pakistan so far?
It's been interesting. It's my first time here, so I'm excited to be here. And thank you, Nikki.
Any highlights?
I went to the mosque yesterday. It was really cool to see. But yeah, there's a lot of eagles, which I really like. I like eagles, so that's a highlight.
Yeah. There's a lot of birds flying over the city. So, hi, everyone. End of second day. Are you still excited? Oh, wow. Who loves space here? Anyone want to go to space? No one want to go to space? Okay, 2. Wow. Okay. Today, Sarah went to space, actually, and we're going to hear from her today about her journey and all of that. But I'd love to introduce her first and then give her the chance to tell us a little bit about herself. So, Sarah is basically an outlier. I don't think how many people went to space.
Since the beginning of time, about 630 something.
600 something out of 7, 8 billion people. That qualifies you for an absolute outlier. She's an engineer, a researcher, an astronaut, and the first African woman to go to space. Can we put our hands together for her? Okay, I'm gonna start this panel with a silly question. You went to space and you can confirm or deny that. Is the Earth flat?
No, it's round.
Okay, great. Anyone here thinks Earth is flat? Oh, someone raised his hand. You think Earth is flat? Wow. Sarah, do you have anything for him?
I can tell you that it's not. It's not flat. It's very much round. 100%.
Okay. Before we jump into space, I'd love to give you a chance and give the audience a chance to get to know you a little bit more. How would you describe yourself, especially beyond work? And yeah, go ahead.
I've always been a very curious person. So since I was young, it was always about trying to understand everything around me. And that's what pushed me to become an engineer, to really try to understand things that were around me and also to solve problems. So I'm kind of a curious problem solver. That's, I think.
Oh, wow. What a great describe. How important curiosity is, especially for young people.
I'm sorry?
How important curiosity is, especially for young people.
I think it's really important to be curious because I think that's something that pushes you to try to understand things. And by trying to understand things, you find problems that need to be solved and you push a little bit forward.
Oh, great. Okay. Can you take me through your day, your habits, how you stay healthy, fit, and happy?
So in order to, when you have a very tight schedule, you really have to be able to manage your time very properly. So for me, like when I was starting my company and when I was deciding that I could potentially go to space and I wanted to train for that, I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, do my workout, work on the research, work on the company that I was founding, and I had a full-time job too. So I would work 8 hours on my full-time job, go to the office, come back, continue working, have my meetings, and start all over again. So you have to be very, very disciplined. And always have that mission in mind. You always have to have a goal that you're trying to reach to, or like something that you want to solve. I think that's really important, and just really visualizing it.
You mentioned your training to go to space. How does that look like? What do I have to go through as a human being to be able to go to space?
So there's a few things. And I think when we think about going to space, we think of very, very intense training. And you have to be very, like, you do a lot of physical training and also psychological training. So having an understanding of what you have to have, what you need to be able to do in space, really being able to work with a team, being compassionate are like qualities that are extremely important to be able to function and have a successful mission. And also physically, because it's very physically demanding as well. So you train physically in terms of like handling G-forces, having good endurance, keeping up with keeping your muscle mass and bone density as well, because when you go to space, you actually lose them. So you need to be able to also like have good bone density before going. Weightlifting helps with that. And then also you have to be able to work in isolation, because when you go to space, you're going to be in isolation. You're going to only have your crew members that you're going to be working with. So being able to work in isolation, being able to work under stressful conditions, and really, really, really one of the most important things is really being able to work with a team and really taking care of your team always, because it's really important we're always working together. And if someone is feeling a certain way, that impacts everyone. So really making sure, always being, like for me when I was doing an analog mission, which is a simulation on Earth, so we simulated being on the moon for a couple of weeks, and I was medical officer. But I also became the crew psychologist. So where you really have to speak to everyone, really try to understand how everyone is feeling as well, because that's so super important in order to have like that successful mission, to achieve the objectives you were set out to do during your mission.
Wow, sounds like a lot. Speaking of G-force, I'm a huge motorsports fan, especially Formula One. How much G-force you go through to go to space?
So during
And for how long? Because that's very important too.
That's true. So now on my mission, going up, so during launch, it was about 2 point something, but coming down, it was 5 point like something. So 5 Gs is pretty extreme because when you're going down and you have the capsule free falling before the parachutes deploy, you have the atmosphere slowing you down. And it's really, really extreme that you can basically not move at 5G. And imagine like 5 times your own body weight on your chest. It's difficult to breathe sometimes. So, not sometimes, actually it is. So you have to really be able to train yourself to have specific breathing techniques in order not to pass out as well. And also to be reactive too. So you have to keep a lot of things in mind at that. But when you train at higher Gs. So when I was training, I trained up to 8 Gs.
Wow. To quantify that in a way, that's a Formula One accident at almost 300 kilometers an hour, full speed into a wall, almost 5, which is, we see what happens to drivers. So you basically go through that G-force and then you have to continue. That's like, it's not going to this G-force and then going to the hospital. Like I go through this G-force and I continue on the mission. Wow, do you think that could be different in the future with more inventions? Because that sounds like something not a lot of people can go through.
Well, when we're talking about missions to space, you have to go on a rocket. And rockets, you have to have a specific thrust and a specific impulse and like all of this. And I think with that, it depends on how big the rocket is, the amount of power that it can handle, the distance that you're trying to go to. Like if you're trying to reach orbit, you need a lot more power, which means more specific, like a higher specific impulse, higher thrust, and this all leads to more Gs. So for different flights, like I think 2 Gs is quite handleable. I think they're making it more comfortable, like so to say. And it's also very automated now. Like all the spacecrafts that we have now, every single one of them are fully automated. So again, like I think that also helps a little bit with, yes, you're going through a lot of G-forces, but you don't have to do as much as we did with what we had to do before. And that's why before, when we had the space shuttle and the Soyuz, we used to only recruit astronauts that were that were fighter pilots. Because when you're a fighter pilot, you have to train with very, very high Gs and you get really comfortable at it. And to be honest, you do get used to it. So the more you do these G-force trainings, the more you get used to it. And it's really not that bad when you do it many, many times. Your body adjusts, you're able to function better. And if you can imagine a fighter pilot when they're flying really, really extremely fast and doing all of these maneuvers, because I had to do similar things for my training, if you get exposed to it a few times, well, the pilot has to handle those 8 Gs. They can handle up to 10 Gs, and they still have to make all the decisions, and they're completely handling the aircraft. So the more we're doing it, the better you get, just like everything else in the world. And
sounds comforting in a way.
Well, you have to be, yeah.
Okay, I want to go to the beginning. You grew up in Cairo. What do you remember from those days, and what inspired you to take that significant leap?
I grew up in Cairo, and I went to a French school there, did my mechanical engineering degree in Egypt. I was really interested in cars. I wanted to do car design, and I was really interested in the human body, so I really wanted to be a physician as well. So I decided to combine both and do biomedical engineering. So it was always about solving problems. Everything that I did throughout my entire journey, for all of my career, in all aspects, it was always about problem solving. And I think the one thing that hasn't changed for me is the amount of curiosity I have. And I mean, we tend to kind of lose this curiosity when we grow older because we get comfortable with the situation around us. We always think about other institutions, other systems, other organizations solving those problems for us. But if you take responsibility and you continue to think that there's always something for you to do, there's always something that you can handle yourself, then you have to continue doing that. So for me, it was always about that. It was always about being a little bit stubborn, a little bit not listening to what people were telling me that I should or shouldn't be. Because I was always told that I wasn't normal. You know, you're always told in Egypt that, like, why can't you be normal? Why are you interested in these things? Like, are you rebelling, you know? So yeah, I always felt like I didn't really fit in anywhere because what I was doing wasn't what everyone else was doing. And I also couldn't see myself in any of the positions that were around me as well. So it wasn't like I could see something someone was doing and say, oh, this is what I want to do, because I couldn't see that. So when I got into the space field, it wasn't really out of being inspired as a child to go to space. You know, a lot of astronauts talk about seeing Apollo missions and thinking, oh, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And then they end up doing it, right? But then very few of them end up doing it, actually. But for me, it wasn't really that. Like, we're not, and you're from Egypt as well, and I think even in Jordan, it's also like that, and I'm sure here as well, like, we're not exposed to this when we were kids. We don't have rocket launches being broadcasted on TV. We don't hear of astronauts from our cities, from our world, from our continent, even. So it's just very far away, and when you're interested in these things, you're kind of put down a little bit. You're kind of still being told, and it could come from a good place too, when your parents are worried or when people around you are worried that you need to kind of like bring your head back down to earth, right? Just to kind of protect you from, you know, having a specific type of career or having a life, being able to also support yourself and like have a life that is reasonable or that is, you know, possible. So a lot of it comes from good intentions. A lot of it doesn't come from good intentions either. So like, I think it's both, and I think it's just being able to have some sort of kind of confidence or to kind of shut down the doubt and shut down what people are telling you that you shouldn't do or you shouldn't be, or to like be realistic, because that's the word that I've always been told. Like, I've always been told to be realistic and to kind of strive for what was possible, but that wasn't really for me.
Wow, have you dealt with that? On top of everything you said, I can feel every bit of it, growing up in, technically speaking, the same part of the world, and I think a lot of you here would feel the same. As a woman, have you dealt with that? Because it's a little bit, I'm sure it's a little bit different. It's not like we live in a part of the world where you can become tomorrow a driver or an engineer or like a racing, like you're interested in cars. I think if you go home and like, I want to be a racing driver. What? So how you dealt with that as a woman?
Well, I think there's pros and cons in everything. And how I like to look at this is that being a woman I was still able to do everything that I wanted to do. And it's about really not listening to those doubts and not listening to what people are telling you. Because yes, you can meet people and they doubt everything that you're capable of doing. I was told not to study mechatronics because it would be too difficult for someone like me, that I wouldn't have any opportunities in my country because of like biomedical engineering is not a thing, that I was wasting my time, you know, all of those things. Of course, you're always told that. And of course, as a woman, it's a little bit more because it's, you know, you do see, and that's in most of the meetings that you're in, you're the only woman. And in most of the meetings that you're in, when you're speaking to investors, to other CEOs, you're always, like, people would mistake me for being with the media and a journalist. Not that it's a bad thing at all, like not that journalism is a great thing, it is. But that I would always be mistaken for that and not be taken seriously. But if I was a man, it wouldn't have been that way. But also there's a lot of pros that come with that. You tend to learn to trust your gut very, very fast, like very fast. So we do develop this kind of, like a pair of glasses that sees through all the, you know, all of that. And you tend to learn really quickly who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with. And you have control over that. And the more you grow into the field, the more you become, you're put in leadership positions. It's your responsibility to not let that happen again and to make it easier and to not have people's passports or genders be the judgment for what they're capable of doing or not.
Wow, what a beautiful answer. I love it. Let's go to more into space, as of space and why we do it. Why do we go to space? And why it's such an important matter for the human race?
We go to space for a lot of reasons. So there's a lot of technical reasons for why we go to space, and there's also like very philosophical reasons for that. So I'll tell you like why I got interested in the space field, and then I'll give you like also the backup arguments to that too. So I got interested in the space field because I was going through some sort of existential crisis, like a lot of you guys must have gone through at some point in your life, when you have a lot of questions about the world, about our origins, about the future of humanity. And And I think once we have those questions, we try to look for answers. And for me, I was left with bigger questions. And the way for us to have those answers is for humanity to be able to be able to travel farther away from Earth, because it's huge, like the universe is very, very big, and we all know that space isn't Earth, but that Earth isn't space, sorry. But there's so much out there. Like the physics of it is just really difficult for our minds to even imagine. Like the scale of it is just really impossible for our brains to even imagine. So when I got into that and I really had those questions, I decided, so there is something for us to be doing here. Like we have to be able to help humanity become multiplanetary. So how can we do that? And what can I do about that? So I decided to really dig into that and use my skills in mechanical engineering, biomedical engineering to help push the field forward. And then once I was doing that, I discovered that a lot of the technologies that we're developing for space have been used on Earth since the very beginning. A lot of the tools and like things that we've developed for the space shuttle, let's say, like a specific part of it has been used for heart transplants, and they've been used for many, many years. Let's say memory foam that you're using for your couches, beds, and pillows, they've been developed for space. Some of the pens that you're using have been developed for space. There are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of technologies that you're using every single day that have initially been developed for space, but we're using every single day on Earth. And then when we're talking about climate change, which Pakistan has been heavily affected by, it's, there's a lot of the things that we're developing for space could help with that in the future as well. We're developing MOXIE. So MOXIE is now on Mars, actually, that is using CO2 to create oxygen. So this is one step towards terraforming Mars. And I know it's not going to happen now. We're still like a few hundred years away from completely terraforming Mars, so don't get too excited yet. But we have been able to successfully create oxygen on Mars. So that's a really important step to talk about, because when we're talking about Earth and climate change, when we have a lot of carbon, we have a lot of CO2 that is trapped in Earth's atmosphere. And this trapping is actually what's keeping the heat in. So if you're able to remove the CO2 from the atmosphere, you're going to be able to reduce the effects of climate change as well and cool down Earth a little bit more. And this is one example out of hundreds, So there's so many things, medications that have been developed for space, because when you go to space, your bones demineralize, which means they lose density. And every single person in this room is going to age, hopefully. And as you age, you're going to go through something called osteoporosis. Osteoporosis means when you're not have to go through that, but as you age, you lose bone density. And when you lose bone density, you can easily get injured. There's a lot of problems with it, of course. So when you go to space, that happens at a much rapid pace. So when you go to space and you spend some time there, you lose bone density because how your cells react to this environment without perceived gravity is that it has nothing is telling your bones to produce more bone cells because of the lack of load. So there's a lot of things that you do in space to help with that. So like working out and stuff, but also medication. So pharmaceuticals in space to help astronauts in space, you can use it on Earth too. Same with, your vestibular system, which is your inner ear system that is that gives you balance and just for motion. There's a lot of people that are facing a lot of problems with their vestibular system on Earth. So again, the same medication that you can use in space, you can use on Earth too. So many of them. These are just 2 examples out of dozens, if not more.
How far did you go away from Earth?
I went on a suborbital mission, and I think we reached about 107 kilometers from Earth.
Wow. How did you feel when you looked at Earth? And so how small is it?
So Earth is probably the most beautiful thing you can ever see from space. It is really a very, very, very impactful experience. And I was sent to space to analyze something called the overview effect, which is this change that happens to your brain when you see Earth from space. So my mission really revolved around that. So you have to go through a lot of training before and after your mission to really be able to understand what really happens there. And it took me a really long time to be able to describe that or to understand what those effects were or how that's influenced my life. And it's really, like, I had to break it down in pieces, like into little points, and be able to understand them. And after doing that, I really, I realized that it was a lot more profound than I thought it was going to be. When you see Earth from space, and when you leave Earth, you see this very, very thin blue line, and you realize that that's the only thing protecting us from space. And you realize that's the only thing keeping us alive on Earth. And you develop this new sense of responsibility towards Earth, towards life on Earth, towards keeping it and protecting it, because we haven't been on Earth for that long. And when you look at how old Earth is, we're just a blink in the timeline of time. And so it's really important for us to not destroy it, and it's our responsibility. And then when you also, sorry?
I was about to say, I hope we leave it in one piece, the way you got it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you have to take responsibility. If this is what we want for the future, then this is what we have to do. We have to take responsibility towards it. We have to realize that that's the only one we have. And it's actually much more fragile than we think it is. And every single one of us has a responsibility towards it. And not only that, but also there are no borders on the map. Those lines that you see on Google Maps or on, the maps that you've been seeing all over the world, like in school and everything, they don't actually exist. They're man-made. They've been drawn on a map by a few men centuries ago, and they've just literally been drawn. They've separated families, they've separated tribes, and these maps have been the cause of a lot of disparities and conflict in our world. So when you see that, when you understand that we're all exactly the same, and those lines have created all the problems that we're seeing on Earth, you really do tend to take responsibility and try to do something about it. And that's what I've been doing as well.
So what are you doing about it next?
That's a big question. So I'm sure we all know the conflict that's going on in the world right now, specifically in Palestine. And it's a difficult situation where we're really seeing a genocide unfold. Like, that's relative. That's what we're seeing, right? The ICJ just came out with their
initial ruling.
Yeah, their ruling yesterday or today. And so we're really, really seeing it, and it's important to take responsibility for that too, where we all have a voice. And I know, like, it's difficult to always raise your voice about these matters, and especially as someone who works in the US and in the space field, but I think it's still very, very important because you have to give voice to those who don't have one. But not only that, we have to look at the root of the problem. There's always a cause to everything. There's always a cause to, systems allowing things to happen this way. And even though the ICJ came up with its ruling, it's difficult to, enforce.
Enforce it.
International law has historically been very difficult to enforce because each country has its own jurisdiction. Like, sovereignty is really not applicable to all. Like, it's not how law works. So with international law comes a lot of problems. And how I started getting exposed to that was last year. And when I was working on space law, so I'm doing my PhD at the same time. And in my company as well, what we're trying to work on is making space more accessible, because when I started my career in the space field, I just can't apply to opportunities that exist because of my passport. And
I was about to ask you how someone from a country that doesn't have a space mission can go to space, because I grew up asking myself that question.
It's very difficult. And because it's just not open for us. You're literally just not allowed to apply. Your passport dictates what you can or cannot do in the world, and that's literally just facts. There are laws that are written that forbid US companies from hiring foreign nationals, and just how it is, And it's because of a lot of the space technologies, if not most of them, are put under the munition list, which means like it's under the defense. And under ITAR, you can't really even communicate or exchange knowledge about these topics. So we've seen historically a lot of projects stop because of that. And you have a lot of international companies and organizations and a lot of even national companies and organizations not being able to communicate or work on the problems together just because they're just not allowed to. So you have to have a way where instead of when you see a problem and someone else has a solution for it, you need to be able to work together because the goal is always the same. And instead of looking at it as like a threat or as, no, I shouldn't be doing this, a lot of the companies do understand the importance of international collaboration, and we're seeing that. And it's just really not in their hands because of those laws. So a lot of companies in the US are facing a lot of problems with not being able to hire foreign nationals, and they need them. So it's not like they don't want them, they do. It's just that those laws haven't been updated. So they need to be updated, they need to be worked on. And what we do at DSI is do that. So we're doing research on that, we're surveying a lot of companies, and we're trying to understand what can be done about it. And that comes under international law too. So that's how I was exposed to international law, and I saw that it's difficult to enforce, and that brought me to human rights ultimately.
Great, thank you. I have a follow-up question here. I'll come back to it later if we have time. But my next question is, you mentioned us becoming a multi-planet species. You said this is not going to happen soon, earlier. How far are we from there? And what are our biggest challenge doing that?
So we're working on it, right? But there's a lot of problems that we still need to overcome before we're able to become multiplanetary. And there's a lot of us really working very, very hard for that. But we need more people. We need more people to be working in the field. We need more people with different perspectives, different experiences, different skills. So we need everyone, And it's really important to address problems with from different angles as well. So we have a lot of problems with, let's say, being able to stay healthy and alive during spaceflight. So let's say when we're talking about going to Mars, it takes 6 months with the rockets that we have now. And in 6 months, you lose a lot of bone density. You lose a lot of muscle mass. You can face a lot of problems with your eyesight, with your vestibular system. So there's a lot of things, and you can get cardiovascular deconditioning. So there's a lot of problems health-wise that for 6 months you're in space and you're in this microgravity environment. Well, by the time you reach Mars, maybe your body won't be able to handle it. And that's not even starting to talk about radiation. So right now, when we're going to the ISS, we're still protected by Earth's magnetosphere. So we're not exposed to cosmic rays. But when you go beyond that, you will be. And that comes with a lot of problems. So with radiation, there's a lot of problems because of, how those, with the materials that we have now, it's creating more problems than solving them. So we need to actually really work on the material science part of things in order to protect us. And physics, of course. And so with radiation, we need to solve all those problems. With medicine, we need to solve all those problems. And then maybe a solution is to reduce the time for this mission. So if we go with a nuclear-powered rocket, you would get there in 3 days. So why not invest more time and energy on a nuclear-powered rocket, which for me is really interesting. And I was doing that last semester for my PhD as well. I was studying nuclear rocket propulsion. And it's extremely, extremely, extremely interesting and, it's promising. It's just that
we've stopped working on it for many decades now because of the accidents that we've had. But I think once we understand or once we really educate the public about the benefits that it has, and I'm sure in Pakistan also, there's a lot of progress there. When we apply it to different applications, we can reduce the amount of problems. You're addressing that one problem that's causing a lot of problems. So reducing that, you basically solve a lot of them, in one go.
Taking into consideration everything you said, how achievable is that in the foreseeable future?
Well, there's a lot of things at play. There's so many things at play. There's so many parts of the world that are doing so much. India just sent a rocket to the moon with, I don't remember, it was $70 million or something, which was insane. So I think things are developing at a rapid pace at the moment. But then we also talk about, we need participation from a lot of countries. We need to be able to work together. With so much conflict happening in the world, there's a much, much, much higher risk.
I'm not sure who's gonna go fight there, but seems like it. And people drawing new maps and flags on the moon.
Well, that's actually not allowed by, like, on the Outer Space Treaty. So when we're talking about space law, it's under international law, and it's under something called the Outer Space Treaty, which has been created like a long time ago in the 60s, 70s. And they keep adding a few things every now and then, but it's a lot of it, you know, has been signed by like a lot of the countries around the world, a lot of the parties to the UN. And it says that you are not allowed to be able to use military like armory or equipment in space unless it's for peaceful purposes. So let's say you cannot sit on the moon and put a flag and have weapons on it. That's just not allowed under international law. But then again, when we're talking about international law, we've seen that it's difficult to enforce and impose, and that's why we're seeing genocides happen now. So we need to address the problem of enforceability, of the lack of enforceability of international law, so that when we look at a future for us in space, we don't make the same mistakes that we keep making here on Earth, because it's just ridiculous. And I'm just gonna say it, like, it is ridiculous, and we all can agree that it's ridiculous.
Space sounds very exciting, and that's most probably the most exciting fireside I moderated in years. But if you weren't in space, where would you be?
I have a really quick answer with that, to be honest. I would be probably an F1 driver.
In what?
An F1 driver, a race driver.
Yeah, that's a very big topic in the world today, because we haven't seen a female there in 50 years. We had technically one female in history of Formula One. Speaking, since we opened the Formula One topic, do you think we will see a female Formula One driver in our lifetime? Because I'm losing hope in that, to be honest.
I hope so, yes.
What could be done? You went to space, it was never for women. The argument is always the bodies cannot handle it. Everyone on the Formula One grid will tell you similar methods to be polite here, not say BS. What could be done for females to go today and compete in Formula One, knowing how harsh is it as a sport?
Well, it's a funny thing that you ask that. I was just at the World Economic Forum last week. Oh my God, it's last week. And I spoke to one of the trainers of the Ferrari's team. And he's very, very passionate about getting women drivers. And he's the head of the Ferrari Academy. So what they're doing now is they're trying to exactly address this problem. They want more female drivers because, yes, we have a lot of differences. There's a lot of differences between men and women. Of course there is. And it's important to also realize that we are capable, very much capable of handling all the physical aspect of it. So saying that we can't is just not correct, you know? So I think now, even speaking to Mr. Jock, he's such an incredible human being. He's really working very hard on that. So I think I'm hoping with this academy and also a few things that I just cannot disclose yet, that there will be more female drivers, hopefully, in the near future. And that's something I'm really passionate about, and I'm hoping to get to drive one soon.
I want to zoom out a bit and talk about women in STEM in general. What advices would you like to share with, I'm assuming majority of women here are into either technology or entrepreneurship or science. What would you share with them as an advice?
So I think this applies to both men and women, and it's just about really trusting your gut. Always trust your gut, and always, when you see a problem and you think you have a solution for it, don't assume that someone else is going to do it. Don't assume that someone else is going to be better at it. Don't assume that there is nothing for you to do. Because in our region, and that's a problem as well, and I think in a lot of countries that are, in similar situations, like Egypt or here, it's very easy to think that, no, there's nothing for us here. There's nothing that we could do about it, right? And I think that's the first thing that people tend to think about, that no, I can't do anything about this. So first thing is overcoming that. First step is you with yourself. Because once you've passed that first stage of, okay, no, actually, the solution is a simple solution. The most beautiful solutions are the simple ones. You don't need to have complex solutions. You need simple solutions to complex problems. And once you have that, then you try to work with others. And I think that's a very, very important thing. And then you choose and you be very selective with who you work. And as soon as you have that, then eventually you will end up with having a company or a team or a research team or really being able to, address a problem that another company is having. So there's a lot of things that you could do, but it starts with yourself, of really listening to your gut more than anything. And that will help you, shut off what others are telling you. Because sometimes a lot of what you hear is like, no, don't do that, you can't do that, don't do this, it's not for us, it's just impossible, it's not for you. Always, right? We're always hearing these things, both women and men, maybe women a little bit more, a lot more, not little. And it's just about, don't listen to them, just be who you are and just trust your own gut and really let that lead you. And if you feel like you're lost or you don't know what you're going to be working on, that's okay too. It's really about finding the problem that you want to work on. And if that's something that pushes you, then that's great. If you have a problem that's already in your mind, then I think maybe some of you in this room have a problem in their mind that you want to solve. Just try to let yourself obsess over that. Being obsessed sometimes is regarded as a negative thing, but it could be regarded as a very positive thing. And let it consume you if it has to consume you.
My final question. I'm a young person in this room. I want to go into space. Where should I go?
That's a good question. So it's difficult, right? We're going to be realistic with the fact that there are few opportunities that exist for if you're not from the West. But a good thing is there are more and more every day. And what we do at my company is exactly that too. So at DSI, we are providing opportunities for people all over the world to work in the space field. It doesn't matter where you're from. Your passport has no say in how we evaluate our applicants. And you can work with an international team on real-life problems for the space field. You get to publish your work, you get to work on it hands-on. We have partners all over the world. And you really get to work with people, let's say, and be advised by people from NASA, from Blue Origin, from anywhere. So that's exactly what we're trying to do here. We're trying to break those borders.
How can someone get in touch with your company?
So our applications are going to open for both our programs. So we have 2 research programs, Milky Way and Andromeda. They're going to open in April, I believe. We're going to post about it, I think, both on social media and on our website. So, and then the program will be running, one program, Milky Way will be running for 3 months, Andromeda will be running for 6 months. So just keep an eye out on social media. Around April, around that time is when we open applications, and we'll be accepting a lot of people this year.
Great. Following up on that, anything to read somewhere, some stuff to follow, some other initiatives maybe someone can look also at, if you have anything in mind?
In terms of research opportunities, it's difficult if you're not from the US. If it's not what we do, there aren't many. So that's the difficulty about this. So that's why what we're doing is really, we're really trying, and it's not easy. It's really difficult. But as for other opportunities, you can join other international organizations, volunteer, try to help out. They're doing a lot of really great things. I can't really name a few now, but you have the SGEC, the Space Generation Advisory Council. You have the UN Outer Space Association, or if that's UNOSA. And then you have a few analog mission companies that are working on organizing analog missions on Earth, so you can help that with that as well. So there is a few. It's just about really spending time and researching it, and yeah.
Any final words?
I just hope that we're able to erase those borders eventually. So that's a really important thing for me. So that's what we're doing at DSI, and that's what I'm also doing with my team as well on other projects related to human rights. So like, that's my biggest mission in the world right now, is to erase those borders. And we need as much help as we can get. So if you're interested in that, please do reach out.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Everyone, please put your hands together for Sarah. Thank you for staying till the end of day 2, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Is Nikki around?